right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Brian Hayes, Dave Feschuk in here. How are we feeling this afternoon, Dave?
Could not be better.
Could not be better.
Beautiful day. Heat's gone, but it's still hot.
Yeah, it's perfect. Actually, perfect weather. Perfect for a ball game tonight. I'm expecting a packed barn. Packed barn, and I guess the new guys are Varland and France anyway will be activated. I haven't seen the lineup yet. I don't think it's out. Ross Atkins will join us in an hour. Shane Bieber. I wonder if I don't think he'd be up here. He's obviously still rehabbing. But
maybe he'll be in Buffalo this weekend.
Yeah, it could be. And that would be a Hollywood moment that, if he just is there for kind of a round of applause, top stepping it, waving at people. Because I do look forward to that when he makes his eventual return to the major leagues and straps on a Blue Jay uniform and pitches at home. Because, Ty France, we'll see. We'll see what he brings to the table. Right-handed bat. I can't imagine he's in the starting lineup tonight. We'll see.
Never know.
Varland will pitch. Dominguez has not pitched as a Blue Jay at the Rogers Center, so I'm sure both of them will get a very welcome home type of ovation. But it feels like Bieber is the man in terms of the trade deadline, and when he finally arrives and makes his first start down at the Rogers Center, I think it's going to be a pretty electric evening.
Oh, it'll be great.
It'll be great. But tonight it's about Kevin Gausman, and you're running into the Royals, who have not been great this year, kind of a team that hovers around 500. But the three starters you're going to face are all having really good seasons.
Quality guys.
Absolutely. So this will be – it's important that the arms snap back out of it. They were pretty terrible when they were in Baltimore, and the bats stay alive because they've been alive for about a month and a half.
Well, this is the time of year, too, Hayes, where you can't get caught up in looking past opponents, right? Because – just like you saw in Baltimore, you go into a Baltimore team that hasn't done much this season, but they're trying to sort of prove something, right? There's a lot of guys in those rosters that are underperforming. They want to prove something, and they got 50-something games that do it. So if you start going in thinking, oh, we're better than these guys, you're going to be sorely mistaken.
Yes. I don't think the Blue Jays should be in any position to look down on anybody.
But they're looking down at everybody from the top step of the standings.
Good for them.
Yeah.
And that's great. What I'm talking about is, if you're the Dodgers, okay, you lost to Cincinnati. I think they look down on people. And I think they have a right to do that. I think the Dodgers have a right to do that. I think the Yankees during the regular season have a right to do that. I think during the regular season, the Maple Leafs have a right to do that.
Yeah.
But the Blue Jays are not in that position. Based on the way they performed last year, we talked about it a lot yesterday. If you split up this season into two halves, the first half, they were like Kansas City.
Yeah.
They were just kind of kicking their tires and just kind of around.
26 and 28.
Yeah, you cannot be in a position where you are so arrogant that you believe because you're atop the American League East on August 1st, you look down on people. And I don't believe that's their attitude. I mean, this is all a hypothetical conversation. I don't think they feel like that's the case, that they're so much better than everyone else. Baltimore in particular has just had their number. But you had a very important day off yesterday. You acquired pieces. Ross Atkins spoke with the media. Again, Ross will join us in an hour. And he said they're fired up because he hit his checklist. That's what they wanted. Starter, couple of bullpen arms, bring in a bat with some versatility. That's what you got. And I think from that standpoint, I understand why they would be fired up. Why wouldn't you? You've improved your team. How much better they are? Well, we'll see how healthy Shane Bieber is going to be. But they're definitely better today than they were 2 days ago.
I think if you would have said to you and me a week before the trade deadline, this is how it's going to end up for the Blue Jays after the trade deadline. They're going to get two relievers, both of whom can throw heat, in Varland and Dominguez. They're going to get backup catching or double-A catching, I guess. Insurance catching. They're going to get a utility guy with a bat who's been an all-star in Ty France. Mm-hmm. And they're going to get a guy who's won a Cy Young, who's on the rehab trail, who medical science would kind of point to the idea that there's a very, very good chance that come a month or two from now, he will be back in the form that he is used to being in. So if you would have said all those things to me a week before the trade deadline, I would have said, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good.
I agree. And I get it that you're always looking at what the other teams are doing. And we spent 3 hours talking about it yesterday. And the Yankees, They went more all in than the Blue Jays did.
That's the difference.
That's fine, but you can't, that should not take away from, again, what has been a very positive season for the Blue Jays. And again, I think a pretty positive trade deadline. And I said that last night after 6 p.m. I said at 3.5 out of 5. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Is it a grand slam? No. But what was a grand slam going to actually look like? And other teams are allowed to compete too. The Phillies were competing for arms. The Mets were competing. The Yankees were competing. Houston. It was an incredibly active day. It was actually a really bright spot for baseball. And this, again, points to where Rob Manfred is. And again, if you want to look at it from a big picture standpoint of the potential for a work stoppage in a couple of years, they have changed a lot of the way you kind of experience baseball. And I think they've hit grand slams collectively. I'm talking about the commissioner, the owners, in conjunction with the Players Association and the different committees, because like the trade deadline used to be, it was blended in. Like, remember, then it was everyone on waivers.
And non-waiver trade deadline.
Yeah, and then it was like August. Well, he's cleared, and they're still making. Guys are getting acquired on August 23rd, and you're like, what the hell is going on here?
I thought the trade deadline already passed. It was too confusing.
Always confusing and always silly.
Yeah.
And baseball very wisely said, look what these other leagues do. They have a drop dead like 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 6 p.m., whatever it is, and it's a build-up, and it forces everyone to make their moves, and it paid off.
Yeah.
Paid off really well yesterday. So I think they've done a really good job with implementing the new, drop-dead trade deadline, the pitch clock, the avoidance of
the shift.
Exactly. Getting rid of the shift. Getting rid of, like, guys coming in from the bullpen throwing one pitch and then getting pulled. Like, forcing guys to throw a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Like, the experience, the way you experience baseball is so much more modern and I think better today than it was a decade ago.
Yeah.
And yesterday, again, was kind of, as you take a step back, I thought a really positive day for baseball. It was a lot of activity. It was great.
And I think they're going to keep moving in the right direction. Like this ABS, assisted umpiring, essentially, that they ran at the All-Star game. They've used it in the minor leagues for a while there. They've used it in various spring training games. I think that's going to be a hit. Like, that's to me, it's not the same as video review. It's much different than video review. It's more like the eagle-eye tennis, line call thing.
Right.
Where it's done in 15 seconds.
Quick.
It's quick. Fans really enjoy it. I've been to a lot of minor league games. I love going down to the States and watching minor league baseball. I might go down to Buffalo this weekend and see Shane Bieber.
There you go.
You know what? That's going to be a hit because there's going to be all kinds of debates about should they have challenged that, because you only get 2 challenges. And if you get one of your hothead players that's mad at the ump that challenges one he shouldn't have challenged, there's going to be conflict not only with the umpire, there's going to be conflict between manager and player who's tapping his helmet when he shouldn't be tapping his helmet. It's really strategic.
There's an ego play there.
There's an ego play. There's a strategic play about when should you use your challenges. How sure are you of your challenges? Catcher, the catcher can challenge as well. So it's the pitcher obviously can urge the catcher to challenge. It's going to be fun. So like to your point, it's like everything's going their way in terms of modernizing and improving the game. And how many leagues can you actually say improve their game on a regular basis?
No, exactly. I mean, baseball is lapping the field in terms of what they've attacked areas where you're not changing, the fundamentals of the sport. Yes, the old school guys would say you should be able to bring someone in to throw one pitch and then go back to the bullpen, or, the bases should still be a certain size, or there shouldn't be a pitch clock. Let the guy just continue to do whatever he wants. And
remember the people when they first brought the pitch clock in that were saying, well, no pitch clock in the playoffs. Can't do that in the playoffs. Anybody saying that anymore?
No, exactly.
Because you don't need that extra time. We just proved it to ourselves by watching the games and realizing there's no need to be pacing around the mound and going to the rosin bag again and tapping your cleats with a whatever it is, a tongue depressor, and doing all that nonsense that guys used to do, and adjusting your jock 1,000 times and stepping out of the batter's box 1,000 times. Just no need for it. And the game is better for it.
Yes, it absolutely is. And I think, the ABS system, it's grandfathering in, eventually just getting rid of umpires for the most part on balls and strikes.
Well,
I think so at some point. I mean, you're going to need guys to an extent. You're going to need someone behind the plate for whatever, I guess, orchestrate, whether it's a ball, a strike, for communication purposes.
Safe and out is still a tough call.
Safe and out is still a quick call that you got to make.
And there's no machine that could do it right now.
No, but they can review it.
Yeah.
They can, after the play, review it. So technically, you could just let everything play out and then say, we're just going to quickly check. Actually, he's safe, he's out, whatever. I don't know. I hope that doesn't happen, but I do feel like it may be moving in that direction. But, I mean, I think baseball's in a really good place. And again, that's why it's disappointing as we continue to talk about what could happen a couple of years from now. But that's 2 years down the road. So you got this season, you get next season. And as of right now, again, the Jays are 3.5 up on the Yankees, 5 up on Boston, and you got Kansas City in town tonight. So, it's going to be interesting to see how these new guys fit in. But I think you continue to look at, the guys who have kind of carried the load here and the focus and the pressure on them to continue to do it. George Springer was placed on the 7-day IL, the concussion 7-day IL today, retroactive to the 29th, but he will not be available today or tomorrow. He could return, I believe, on Sunday. Mm-hmm. We'll see if Alejandro Kirk rejoins his team this weekend, but Dalton Varsho is back. So Varsho steps in. You got a righty on the mound for the Royals, so I believe he'll play tonight and be playing center field. And now you've passed the deadline. The GM management, they can't really do anything else for you. This is your team. What do you have?
This is who you are.
What are you going to do?
Exactly. And you look. I mean, this is the beauty of it. This is why you want to put yourself in these positions to play meaningful games in August and September, and they've done that. But there's still a long way to go, right? And you wonder about this team. Like it's a tough call to make. Like if I had to bet right now which way it will go, will they continue this magical kind of storied run where all these guys are overachieving? They're getting enough power, even though they're the guy they brought in to be the additional power bat, and Santander hasn't been a factor. They're getting, sort of the incredible, contributions from guys they did not expect to get contributions from the Bargers on down. Springer's rejuvenated, now a little bit of a setback. All these storylines that no one saw coming in spring training. Heck, Barger didn't make the team out of spring training. Can they continue? And I'm like, I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure which way. The optimistic side says, yeah, it would be great for the city. It's been a long time since they've had a reason to be optimistic going into the playoffs. It's been a long time since they've won a playoff game, going on 9 years. But, the kind of more analytical side says, maybe they got to come back to earth a little bit here. Yeah,
it's very possible. I do think, what they've done here is built in an expectation where at a bare minimum you're making the playoffs.
Yes.
I'm not going to sit here and guarantee they win the American League East. I'm not going to do that. Considering a month and a half ago they were 5-6 games back of the Yankees. Things can happen quickly in baseball. Whether it's internally you fall off or another team gets red hot. The Yankees win 10, 12 games in a row, and all of a sudden you can't control that. You're not playing them. They're red hot. It's going to happen. There's still 50 games left to be played. So I'm not at a position where if they were to slip out of leading the American League East, that becomes some disappointment. But if you miss the playoffs, it's catastrophic. Like that has been declared now. It's August 1st. You're well into the playoffs. You have to make it. You've got to stay above water.
Yeah.
So, I was asked that question earlier. Like, if they fell to a wild card spot, would that be a disappointment? Would that be a choke job? No. They're 3.5 games up on the Yankees on August 1st. There's a lot of baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Yankees are still a really good team. Boston improved, to an extent, and they're still chasing you. So it's not like it's AL East or bust at this point, but it certainly is playoff or bust. And that's a testament. That's a compliment to your team. Like, that's the way it should be on August 1st. Like, there's other teams like Kansas City that are like, man, we got to do what Detroit did last year. We got to catch a heater and find a way to get to 87, 88 wins and pray we can backdoor into the playoffs. And if you look at FanDuel and the odds, we got it up on TV right now. To win the AL East, the Jays are still favored, -150. Yankees +150, Sox +900, and then the Rays and the Orioles clearly are long shots and aren't going to happen.
Right.
But that's a testament to what they've done so far and the team they have, and I think a projection on what you can expect the rest of the way. Barring health, they're going to be a team that I think wins, more than half their games the rest of the way. Is that enough to guarantee the American League East? No, it's not. But it's going to put you in a really good position to do it. So credit to them. And credit to, again, what they've established so far. So we'll continue to look ahead to the series with Kansas City in town. Ross Atkins will join us just after 5 o'clock. We'll come back and get into this Micah Parsons story, which is so typically Jerry Jones, so typically Dallas Cowboys. And Hockey Canada has unveiled their invitees to their little summer soiree as they build up towards the Olympic Games in Italy in 2026. And there were some interesting admissions, some interesting omissions. We'll go through that and see where we stand on who could or who could not make the team as we look ahead to the Olympic Games as well. Again, Ross Atkins just after 5 o'clock. Dave Festruck in here. I'm Brian Hayes. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Now, Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Someone pour me up a double shot of whiskey. They know me and Jay Daniels got a history. There's a party downtown near 5th Street. Everybody at the bar getting tipsy. Everybody at the bar getting tipsy.
All right, Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Dave Feschuk in here. So the Blue Jays have released their lineup for the game tonight with the Royals in town, and a little bit surprised, but I guess they, you want to get Ty France acclimated. You want him in there. You got to, he's a righty. I got a righty on the mound, but he's going to DH and hit 6th tonight. So you get him into the lineup. You got Heineman obviously catching because Kirk is still out. But there you go. And obviously Varsho is back as well. Varsho's back playing center field tonight, and he's hitting 7th. So it's almost like you're adding 2 guys in a way to the lineup based on the trade deadline. I mean, Varsho was obviously your guy prior to this, but he's barely played all year, and he is returning from injury. So you got Lucas leading off, playing right field, Lou Perfido hitting 2nd, then Vladdy, Bichette, Barger, France DHing, Varsho in center, Ernie Clement playing 2nd, Heineman behind the plate, Gausman on the mound. So, again, relying on young guys, Lucas and Lou Perfido, to kind of set the table for you. But they've done that all year. Barger hitting 5th, kind of protecting Vladdy and Bichette, and France and Varsho back in the lineup.
I mean, it is an amazing season. When you think about the expectations for this season, Hayes, going back, who would have thought to begin that Nathan Lucas and Joey Loperfido would be your 1-2 hitters on August 1st? Nobody, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was no possible,
no chance.
There was no possible way you could have come to that conclusion in spring training. And then you look at it, they're on pace for 91.5 wins right now. The Vegas over-under on this team was in the high 70s, depending on which book you were looking at which moment before the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you're right. To your point, they're basically locked into the playoffs. They've exceeded expectations, even if they kind of have a 500 finish here from here on.
Oh, absolutely. You go 500 the rest of the way, you're in.
Yeah.
You're going to be 88, 89 wins.
And all you got to do is catch fire at the right time.
Yeah.
And basically, hope that Scherzer and Bieber, or somebody else, obviously, but if Scherzer and Bieber show up in the playoffs in some reasonable facsimile form of their best, you're suddenly dangerous.
Yeah. Well, that's it. There's an element of throwback with their arms now. Bieber won the Cy Young in 20. Scherzer's obviously won multiple Cy Youngs and is going to the Hall of Fame. Gausman, Bassett, Barrios, this rotation 5 years ago is the best rotation in baseball by a mile.
If everybody's in their prime.
If everyone's in their prime.
Yeah.
And now, none of them are. I mean, Barrios is probably still in his prime, and Gausman's just on the back end of it. But, you got a scenario here where you're rolling the dice, for sure, but you got a lot of tickets, and if any of those lottery tickets, fall your way, you've got something really special.
Wow. The other one would be Santander coming back and contributing, right?
Right. Well, ask Ross about that. I just don't get the impression it's even close. I haven't heard of him even taking swings. So if you're not even swinging, and it's kind of curious. Is it not a surgery at some point? Do you not make the call to shut him down and figure out what exactly is going on? Because Atkins said yesterday, it's taking some time. It's getting better, but it's taking longer than he thought and longer than we thought. But, you're August 1st, and this guy's not even in the cage. Let alone going back down to Dunedin and building up and then coming through AAA. And that's coming. He's spending 3 or 4 days in Buffalo before he even plays up here.
Wow.
If the season's
he's a
still
long way
ongoing.
from that, though. He seems
exactly.
Not even close to that.
A minimum a month and a half before he's even close.
But I'm just saying. So that's just it's another lottery ticket, though, right? Because there's still a lot of time. I mean, there's still months, plural.
Yeah. Yeah, it's August 1st. You got 2 months still.
Games, right? So
50 games.
It's possible. It's possible, but you're not counting on it.
Glass half full, though. You're right. And listen, look what they've done without him. He hasn't been here all year. When he was in the lineup, he was a mess.
May have been injury related.
Possibly. But
it seems like it was at the end, at least.
Yeah. I mean, early on it was, he's always a slow starter. And then at the end,
it didn't look comfortable.
It doesn't really look like he's actually swinging that fluidly.
He looked like a broken man.
But regardless, the facts are, when he was in the lineup, it was kind of a black hole, quite frankly. He was almost an auto out.
Yes.
So you've done all of this without him. anything you might get out of him is a bonus at this point, clearly. But, Lou, like you said, Lucas Perfito hitting first and second, Barger hitting fifth, and you're 3.5 up in the AL East. So
as long as these guys don't suddenly come down with a case of imposter syndrome,
yeah,
and realize, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, I'm not supposed to be a leadoff.
And that's a big part of it is like the mental game, the psychology that you never look in the mirror at any point and say, wow, what the hell am I doing here? Like, how did I get here?
I'm the leadoff hitter on the best team in baseball.
Yeah. We're going to have 45,000 people at the Dome tonight, and Nathan Lucas and Lou Perfito are coming up to set the table in the bottom of the first. So we'll see. Ross Atkins in just over half an hour. So this Micah Parsons story took another turn today, where he has been showing up to camp. He's going into the 5th year of his rookie deal, and he's a superstar. He's one of the best pass rushers really we've ever seen. I saw a stat today that I believe he shares a record with only Reggie White in terms of like double-digit sacks the first 4 years of his career. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just like this guy is a superstar. He is the linchpin of that defense. Like, he is the man in Dallas. And he's been holding in because he wants a new contract, like every player does once they get to this stage of their career, especially defensive players. You got to take advantage of leverage. You're going into your 5th year. CeeDee Lamb just did it on the opposite side of the ball, said, I want to get paid. Now that TJ Watt's been paid, now that Myles Garrett's been paid, you know what the bar is. These aren't overly complicated contracts because, again, Watt just got paid and Myles Garrett just got paid. So
41 and 40, respectively.
And I would argue Parsons probably a step below those two guys, just a step, but also younger than those guys.
Which might put him a step above.
Possibly, depending on, again, leverage and pressure points and all that. But I would say it probably should work out to like $38 million a year. Those are kind of the guarantees. Work out whatever it's going to be, 4 or 5 year deal, $38 million guaranteed per year. Do the math on that, figure it out. Naturally, it's never that easy with Jerry Jones and company down there. And it turns out that Parsons and Jones had been having conversations among each other, like communicating directly with each other over the course of the spring. And naturally, Jerry Jones misread the whole situation and was of the belief that he was negotiating, that he and Parsons were basically brokering a deal. And Parsons' interpretation was, well, I'm just, being an employee and nice, and you're the owner and the GM, and we're talking this out. But needless to say, my agent is the one that's actually going to have to negotiate this in the end. And now it has been reported on by Diana Ruicini and others that Jones and company with the Cowboys will not even negotiate with Parsons' agent, won't even talk to the guy, don't want to deal with the guy, and feel like they've been burned by Parsons. So it's gotten so ugly, Parsons jumped online today and said, I'm demanding a trade. Wants out of Dallas. There it is. I love the iPhone notes post. Oh, yeah. It's always so professional. But also, I will say this, it does make you realize it's genuinely from them.
Yes.
Right? Like, you get an Apple Notes post, that's actually the player kind of writing it out.
Like, you don't think PR agencies have that template in their fold?
Generally not. Now, he might have been on the phone with his agent. His agent might have been saying, say this and then say that, press send. But now it's blown up to the point where Parsons is demanding a trade.
Yeah.
So
let's put that in air quotes.
Yes.
Demanding a trade.
And let's point this out, too. He's not going anywhere, in my opinion.
He's not going anywhere.
I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think Terry McLaurin's going anywhere either, because McLaurin's now demanded a trade out of Washington. They both did we're going to show up, be good guys, be around our teammates. We don't want to get fined. Sign autographs, and now you want to get paid. And it's August 1st, and it's still very early into camp in terms of the negotiation tactics and the pressure points. But it's just more, in my opinion, unnecessary noise around Dallas. It's just so typical of the way Jerry Jones always operates. You know what you're going to pay this guy. I can tell you what the contract's going to look like.
Yeah.
Like, I know, I can give you the ballpark anyway. Somewhere between 37, 38 million and 42 million a year. Something in that ballpark. Maybe he's the highest paid. Maybe that's what he's demanding. Maybe he wants just a little bit less than Watt and Garrett. But that's around what it is.
That's generally why you wait. You wait to go last so that you can be the highest paid, right?
And that's what C.D. Lamb basically did. He waited for Justin Jefferson to go, and then he said, all right, I know where I am now. Yeah. And Jamar Chase, the reason why it didn't work out is because it's buffoonery in Cincinnati.
Right.
Just like buffoonery down in Dallas. And eventually they're like, well, we got to pay Chase. Now they had to pay him more. Last year, maybe they would have paid him a little less.
That's exactly true.
But, yeah,
but, I mean,
it's typical showmanship by Jerry Jones that leads to inadequacy and ultimately, I think, will hurt their football team.
Well, I mean,
I think
certainly,
so.
You can certainly make that case.
Because this doesn't help that the report. I think why I say that, not, again, I think Parsons will be a Cowboy. I think bygones will be bygones. They'll get a deal done eventually and it'll all work out. When your reputation is that you tried to pull a fast one on your best player, that's the kind of stuff to me that has a lasting effect.
Yeah.
Like when other players are in the room saying, what? Like he had a golf tournament, he was talking to Parsons and he thought he had a deal and he's holding him to that. Like that's just ridiculous. That's buffoonery. That's clown show stuff.
Well, I'm sure there are people that look at it that way. Jerry, who's 82 years old and comes from a different generation, you know, there's all those stories about him making handshake deals on big money stuff, right? Like he's from that era where you talked face to face with a guy, came to an agreement, shook hands on it, and that was that. Your word was who you were. And now we're long past that era. Jerry, I'm sure, knows that deep down, but he loves operating that way. And he also loves Hayes. Like you talk about unnecessary noise and unnecessary distractions. I think he sees it as necessary. Like he loves it. Jerry loves being the center.
No, of course. He
loves the circus.
That has nothing to do with wins and losses.
The idea that any other team in his market or any other team in the country is not, is overshadowing him. And is not, he's not the first topic on ESPN's talk shows and Fox Sports talk shows. That ticks him off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he loves he loves this conversation that we're having right now.
I hear you. Listen.
And
I get
he does have a couple Super Bowls in his.
Yeah, 30 years ago he does. Yes, 30 years ago he does.
More than a lot of teams have. And they had some 12-win seasons very recently that were very promising and didn't turn out. But
you're not a supporter of Jerry Jones, are you?
I just like to point out that he has had some success.
He's had some success. Yep, he's had some success, and he loves being in the spotlight, and he will take the invitations now to come out and speak. He's not going to bite his lip. Like, he's not going to sit back and just say, I'm not even touching that. This is business. He's going to be now doing interviews and talking about Parsons and probably revealing what he thinks. And that's common practice for Jones. And I think if you're a Cowboy fan, you're well aware of it. But it also, I don't think it is a coincidence that he has had serious run-ins with the most popular and important positions in the sport.
Yeah.
Running back, quarterback first and foremost. He had it with Dak. Running back, wide receiver, pass rush. Like that's it. And then you could throw in a corner, and he's had those over the years, right? Back with Dion 30 years ago and others in the past. But he's had it with quarterbacks. He had it last year with CeeDee Lamb, a superstar wide receiver. Now he's got it with Micah Parsons, a superstar edge rusher. Like, those are the ones that really attract people.
Yeah.
If you're in a fight with a left guard, no one really cares.
Nobody cares.
And he knows that. You're fighting with your linebacker, your tight end or something. There's other stuff that ESPN and company are going to talk about. Micah Parsons, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, those are big.
It seems
those are big. And I don't think it's a coincidence that those are the ones that he tries to slow play, or overly complicate. And in the end, I think it actually hurts him because he overpays. Like, he overpaid Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
There's no other way to put it. It's a horrendous contract. Horrendous. The fact that he's the highest paid player in the league is a horrendous sorting of business. But he played himself. Because he kept slowing it. And then Dak had a massive year, and he's like, all right, I'm out of here. And he said, fine, I got to pay you. And
you're right. You got outmaneuvered.
Yeah, he gets outmaneuvered. And I get why he wants the spotlight, because he can't get enough of it. His ego, he loves being Jerry Jones. But to me, if I'm the Cowboys, they had a brutal season last year. I'm not convinced they're that much better this year. And now you're in one with your best player. It just, you'd think at some point someone else within the Jones family would say, we got to play this a little bit differently.
Well, I don't think anybody in the Jones family
No one has the power to do that,
has
clearly.
any sway over Jerry.
Well, how much worse could it get with Jerry Jones, who's 82 years old?
82 years old.
And is already, picking fights publicly and saying things where the Cowboy, it seems like in the background, they're like, oh, we better smooth this one over. There's an element of, Biden, Trump vibes where it's like comes out and just starts spitting and you're like, what the hell is this guy even talking about?
Yeah, there is some of that for sure.
Yet he's the owner and the GM
and he's been doing it longer than Biden and Trump.
Yes, he has. He's in the position he's in a lot longer.
He's the original carnival barker, man.
Yeah.
There's nobody like him. And you know what? Look, I think he's done the only thing. Look, obviously this is ridiculous. You're right. It's your best. He's your best player. He may well be the best defensive player in the league. He's certainly in the conversation.
He's one of them, yeah.
And to your point, only players in the history of the league with 12-plus sacks in their first 4 seasons are Parsons and Reggie White.
Pretty good.
It's not bad company to be keeping.
Yeah.
So he's a legit talent. But I will defend him on the fact that if every owner was an anonymous mute, and most of them are, if every organization was kind of run by a spreadsheet, by guys in khakis that you never talked to and didn't feel they needed to communicate with the fans or the players, and that is probably the way sports are going. Eventually, we're never, I don't think we're going to hear much from the guy that owns MLSE in the next 10 years or however long he's going to own the place. If everybody was like that, sports wouldn't be what it is today. The NFL wouldn't be what it is today. Characters build the sport as much as they build character.
They do.
And he's the ultimate character.
They do. Yeah, the original in the NFL was probably Al Davis, and now he's kind of the modern day Al Davis. He's a bigger than life owner, and he's right at the forefront of everything. And I have an appreciation for that. I get the shtick. I'm just saying, I don't think it's conducive to winning. Is the point?
It probably isn't.
It's not in the modern era where it's not just about shaking hands. It's not 1974 anymore.
No, it's passed them by to a degree. There's no doubt about it.
That's the point.
It passes everybody by eventually. But they have had some success. They haven't been the worst franchise.
No, they have not. They're not. They're not at all. They've made the playoffs.
He has built an empire there that
most valuable franchise on earth.
Is the envy of the league. So
yes.
There's method to the madness, but there's a lot of madness.
Yeah, and Parsons, what I like the idea of him hitting the trade market. Again, I'm not anticipating that's ever going to happen because he has no power. He's under contract for another year. He can hold out, but then he's not even holding out during his trade request by all accounts. He's still going to show up so he doesn't get fined. So if you're still showing up just to avoid not being fined or avoid being fined, how serious are you when it comes to this trade request?
Makes you wonder.
Yeah, I think it's pretty shaky. And I fully expect that he's a Cowboy this year. But
he'll be the highest paid defensive player in the league, I bet.
That's the thing, though. Is it going to get so ugly where he does hold out and doesn't play and they lose their first 3 games and there's no pass rush and their defense is getting melted down, and then all of a sudden he does what he did with Emmitt Smith 30 years ago where he's like, just go get him and pay him. Because Smith was the original one.
Yeah.
They were coming off the Super Bowls, I believe, or at least one of them. And he held out the first few weeks. They started 0-3 or 1-2, and he said, just pay him. And that's what happens, ultimately once you get into the season. August 1st is not a pressure point. Not for either side. It's not even close. But eventually we'll be on September 1st, and then it is. Then it's a pressure point. And then it's who's going to get paid, who's actually going to play, and how's this going to work out. But if Parsons were to be dealt, man, there'd be a ton of teams calling on him.
Oh.
A ton of teams calling on him. A guy who's 26 years old, has the stats that he does, plays a position that can literally change your fortunes, immediately put a good defense into great category just by having his presence around.
Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah, you're talking multiple first-round picks, multiple seconds or thirds, all that. It would just be a massive package.
You just can't give that guy up.
You would think so. Yeah, you would think you just can't.
There's no case for it. There's no case to be made about giving up a guy like this.
Well, Khalil Mack was the one example where the Raiders traded him to the Bears, and Mack was a pretty significant player at that point. But then you look at the Bears, they paid all that price for him, and he played pretty well for them, but it didn't really work out.
Well, they didn't have enough around him.
Yeah, they didn't have enough around him. And that's the ultimate, question. Is if Parsons hits the market and goes somewhere, he can't go to Carolina. Not, yes, he'll still be a great player, but you do, using Reggie White as an example, when Reggie ended up in Green Bay, they won a Super Bowl a year or two later. Like, if you're a piece away, if you're a past, I would use the current Packers as an example. You put Parsons on the current Packers team, look out. Scary how good they would be. All right, Ed Werder on that and more coming up in just under an hour. We've got Ross Atkins in about 25 minutes. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
right, so following up on this Micah Parsons story, I guess his dad was on a podcast and was, asked the hypothetical question, if your son was ever traded, where would you want to see him go? And he listed the Steelers, the Lions, and the Chiefs as the three teams. All those would make sense. The Steelers, they're already loaded, in their front seven. The Lions are the one for me. Like the Lions, they've got Hutchinson coming back off that pretty gruesome injury, but he's a one-man show. But you throw Parsons into the mix, they got a really solid secondary that's healthy now. Like the Lions are that team that are like right there, that feel great about their chances. You put a Micah Parsons on them, and I think they'd be the kind of team that would say, here, we'll give you 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick, whatever. Again, it's all hypothetical. I don't think it's ever going to get there. Eventually, these two sides, Jerry Jones and company, and Parsons and his reps will probably come together and knock out a contract. But still, we can dream, because that would be monster news in the NFL.
Oh,
monster news in sports. Period. If Parsons was on the move,
you could create like a superhuman defense in Detroit. It'd be.
Well, and the Chiefs, too. I mean,
Chiefs.
I don't want to see him go to the Chiefs.
With Jones. And
you got Chris Jones already. You got McDuffie in the secondary. You add Micah Parsons. That's...
Lions already have Hutchinson, right?
Yeah. Steelers, TJ Watt, you put him on the other side.
Just looking at some of his dad's quotes, it said Micah and Hutchinson together in Detroit would be like cheating.
Yeah, it would be, though. Like, those two are monsters. Oh. You got one on the interior, one on the outside, just wreaking havoc on offensive lines.
Scary.
But we'll see what Ed Werder has to say about that in about 45 minutes. Ross Atkins in about 20 minutes. I guess Shane Bieber is up in Toronto, so he may give a tip of the cap tonight to the crowd. I think he's going to do a bullpen session in Toronto, and then sounds like he might make his next rehab start in Buffalo on Sunday, which is rare for a guy to be traded and then continue with his rehab in the minors. Right, so you have to leave whatever minor league town you were in, and now you're on your way to Buffalo. But I would guess for a guy like that, they're probably telling him, find a spot in Toronto, and you can drive down there, and we'll pick up a hotel for a night or two and then come back up. I don't think he's spending 5, 6, 7, 8 days straight in Buffalo.
No, it's like car service down to the park in Buffalo.
We'll get you down there and back.
Get your cleats on, go pitch, shower, car service back to Toronto.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Which is pretty elite.
Yeah.
Now you need your passport, but beyond that,
he's got that.
He's got that, of course.
He's probably got his boating license apparently, because I don't know if he took his boat, but he was talking about boating to Toronto.
That would be sweet.
Yeah,
that would be sweet. All right, so Ross Atkins on that and more coming up. Now, Hockey Canada has announced that they are inviting 92 players in total to the national team's orientation camp. That's the men's side, the women's side, and the Paralympic side. But the men's side is interesting because, obviously that's their GM, Doug Armstrong, that is putting this together in conjunction with the rest of his staff. But they're only inviting the 3 goalies that were on the team for the Four Nations.
Four Nations.
Like no Logan Thompson. I was a little bit surprised by that. Montembeault, Aiden Hill, and Binnington.
Yeah.
And I'm fully expecting Binnington, if he's healthy, will be on the team. I would think one of Hill or Montembeault likely are also there. But I don't think all 3 guys are a lock to be on that team.
It doesn't feel
How could they possibly be locks?
I mean,
none of them are like Vezina caliber goalies.
Got to be an open competition. I mean,
like, why would you not invite Logan Thompson after the year he just had?
Had a really great year. I don't get that one. I really don't.
That's a bit surprising, but what also sticks out is they've invited the younger guys. Macklin Celebrini's there and Connor Bedard is there. And Bedard, I don't think he's played himself into being, worthy of consideration for the Olympic team, but he still has the reputation and he certainly has the potential to be a big part of the program, for the next decade and a half. So I think out of respect to that, you invite him, you let him hang around Sid and McDavid and all that, presuming everyone's going to be there. I don't know if they're all going to accept the invitation. It's a little get-together, but I would think if you're on the outskirts of the team or on the perimeter of the team, you're going to be there.
You're showing up.
Yeah, you're showing up, and you're doing whatever you have to do. Like Tom Wilson, he's going to be there. Guys like that are going to be there. Evan Bouchard, I would think, is going to be there.
Attendance matters to these Hockey Canada things, man.
It certainly does. Nick Suzuki better be there.
Yes.
Like, that's apparently been an issue for Suzuki in the past. Like, he's declined their invitation to play at the Worlds, and it's potentially something they've held against him.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. And look, for Bedard, I think, he's a 20-year-old guy, right? What is he at? 22 and 23 goals the last 2 seasons. Underwhelming, I would say.
On a terrible hockey team.
But that's the thing.
Horrible.
I have a hard time condemning a guy that is playing in a miserable situation, And you could argue, should he lift that situation up? Should he be raising that team? You can't do it single-handedly. And that team is just so rudderless, so clueless in how, I don't know what they're putting around them, but it's not enough. And it doesn't seem like it's going to change anytime soon. And to the point about, he's done a lot for Hockey Canada. I mean, he single-handedly won a World Junior for him.
Yeah, and he went to the Worlds when he was 18.
Right.
Didn't play a ton. Now, he didn't go this past year, which I thought was potentially a misstep, but obviously it wasn't, because they've still invited him to this orientation, which, again, does not guarantee anything. I don't think he's making the Olympic team. I'd be shocked. I think he's got to take massive steps this year, and even with that, he's likely a depth player, and depth players, he's not a big enough guy, and he's not a seasoned enough guy. He won't be a winner, quote unquote, by then to fit that mold.
No.
They're not knocking Mark Stone out for Connor Bedard.
There's no reason.
Yeah, they're not knocking out, whoever it is, Sorelli, who's won cups, for Connor Bedard.
No.
They're not going to do that. But I do think it's a really good opportunity for a kid like Bedard to really launch your season positively. Just springboard yourself into what has to be a platform year for him. Because at some point, invariably, it happens with every player, you stop getting the, not excuse, but
benefit of the doubt.
Benefit of the doubt, and the explanation doesn't start with, but the team. Eventually it shifts, right? It happened with Eichel in Buffalo. It was, Buffalo. Then it became, is this guy as good as we think he is? Now, it turns out he was.
He is pretty
good. And he is. And he's been phenomenal in Vegas when he got to a much better situation.
And again, that's why the Buffalo Sabres are exhibit A of why I don't hold miserable situations against the guys that are in them. It does make you wonder. Why are all these guys on this team and it just does nothing? Does that have to say something about the guys? Probably a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe that they throw their hands up in the air when things don't make sense and there's no leadership and you don't believe in the front office and you don't believe the front office has a clue how to get you out of the basement of the league, which is where you've been living your entire career there. I understand that. At a certain point, you're just there's no way this team's going to get better. Why would I believe it? There's nothing I can do as a player to make it better. Doesn't matter what I do on the ice. We are going to be a terrible team.
Yeah.
And I understand. At that point, if I'm a player advocate, I'm I kind of get it.
Yeah, the human element kicks in at some point.
And if I'm Connor Bedard, I'm where is the reason to believe that Kyle Davidson and this front office has a clue how to make this team better?
I don't see it in year 3 for him. I don't see Chicago. What have they done or acquired that would lead you to believe they're going to improve by 30 points? Or something it just
doesn't seem like.
No, I don't think they're even close.
I don't think
personally. And now I will say this: San Jose was technically worse, and Celebrini, the year Celebrini had, and the performances he put up consistently were better this year than any of the first 2 years Bedard put up. So again, I think there's a limit to what you can expect in terms of the ceiling, but you got to hit the ceiling. I don't think Bedard has quite hit the ceiling.
No.
He's got to be better. He's got to be more of a dominant force. But the thing is, he's not a big guy.
That's the thing.
And if you don't have help, creating some space for you, or you don't have help in terms of getting the puck on your stick when you do have that split second, because he's a pure goal scorer. He's got an unbelievable shot, and he's got a nose for it. You need help, and he has not had it. But again, neither is Celebrini, but Celebrini plays a different style.
I think a better athlete.
Yes, and I think Celebrini, when watching him play the few times I did this year, I was thoroughly impressed. He's dogged, man. He's strong. He's strong, and he's on it. And he's he plays angles really well. And he, the 2 times the Leafs played him, man, he was the best player on the ice when they played in Toronto. He was phenomenal that night. And I think he's got an outside shot of making this team. I wouldn't say it's likely, but it's not 0%. Where I think
No.
Bedard's closer to 0%.
Hey, man.
Celebrini keeps growing and has another really good year. It's on the table at a minimum. All right, Ross Atkins coming up. Ed Werder into the next hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
It's Mail It In Friday.
The plant called and said if you don't come in tomorrow, don't bother coming in Monday.
Woohoo! 4-day weekend.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Just watch me dance. Just watch me.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Dave Feschuk of the Toronto Star. Ed Werner later in the hour on Micah Parsons issuing a trade request. So a request or a demand?
I think
what are we calling
like
it?
a demand.
It's a demand through the Notes app, which I always love.
Great.
Like because you can picture the guy sitting there so angry, and he's like, how do I write this thing? I'm writing this on the Notes app and posting it. It's out. There it is. That's a good amount of words, too, Dave.
It's a really long trade.
What do you say that is? 500, 700 words?
A long trade demand.
Okay. Because that's where I would suggest to him, take the Michael Jordan angle. Simple.
I'm back.
I want out.
I'm out.
Send. I'm out. Exactly. I'm back. This one's I'm out. Peace sign.
Love it.
I can't read all that. I'm not reading that. Like, come on, we're busy here. Are you demanding? Are you requesting? Do you want? What's going on here? I'm not reading a full Notes app.
This guy sounds like a fascinating character.
2025. What are we doing here?
Micah Parsons sounds like a fascinating character. Like,
absolutely.
Incredibly sophisticated dude by all accounts. I could sort of see why, when you read about Micah Parsons and you kind of hear him interviewed, and you could sort of see why Jerry would think he could negotiate face-to-face with Micah Parsons, because he sounds like an agent when he talks.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's sophisticated. He knows the market better than most agents probably know the market. He knows what he's worth better than most agents know what their clients are worth. Like, this guy is paying attention to everything. Like, a lot of players don't, right? A lot of players are like, I'm leaving it to my agent. I don't know what he'll take care of it. This guy sounds like he's probably going to be an agent if football doesn't work out, which
possibly.
Of course it already has.
Which would beg the question, how much is he responsible for this as well?
Yeah.
It's not 100% Jerry Jones. It does seem like I would put a lot of the emphasis on Jerry Jones trying to get a fast one on a player, but
I don't know. That might not be fair, because I think.
Well, I mean, he's negotiated thousands of contracts. I would guess almost all of them have been through an agent.
Oh, I think there's a lot of. Ed would know better. Ed's covered Jerry longer than anybody, and we'll have to ask Ed. But I would not be surprised if Jerry's had a lot of face-to-faces with players where it ended up in a deal or pretty damn close.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, possibly. I guess what I'm saying is, it's one thing to say, hey, do you want to be a Cowboy? Yeah, I want to be a Cowboy. Okay, then we're going to work out a deal. Yeah. And actually being like $36 million a year, hey, you agreed to $36 million a year. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's kind of the devil's in the details. It's the point I'm making.
We don't know
the conversation. You're jovial. Yes, you do like being a Cowboy. We love having you. We want you to be a Cowboy for life. Me too. Okay, then that means we're going to work this out. It's very different than, I'm making this guaranteed money, I'm getting these, fine print comments in the contract or whatever, which is always, generally speaking, an agent. And usually the purpose of the agent, I'm sure the agent's pissed here because he's got a powerhouse agent. Same guy that I believe represents Deshaun Watson. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure he loves that association necessarily. Well, he should, because it's the most guaranteed money in league history.
Right.
But I would guess a part of this is Parsons' agent saying, why was I not included in this?
Oh, yeah.
And that's what can really set things off, where he's trying to get on the phone with Jones, and now Jones isn't going to answer it. And that's where Jerry knows where this is going. Eventually, he's got to deal with the guy's agent. And that's the whole point of the agent, is to keep it, take the emotion out as much as you can. It's your life, it's your career, it's your money, it's your team. But the purpose of a third party to do this is so that you don't lead to situations like this.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jerry was telling the guy, look, fire your agent, save your commission. I'll make you, I'll give you this, and, we can just talk right now.
That would be interesting. Now, again, that's where, does the PA step in at some point and say, this is not how business works?
The PA's in shambles right now.
Yeah, it is.
So
maybe whoever's running the PA, maybe you can find a peeler joint down in Dallas and they can work something out. Because that seemingly was a high priority for the predecessor.
Stuff like that. Of course the agent's going to hit the roof when he finds out Jerry's been trying
You agreed
to talk.
to what? Or Jerry
Yeah.
thinks you agreed to what?
Yeah.
No chance.
So that's probably, you're right. That's probably at the root of this, is that as soon as the agent found out that Parsons had actually been talking to the owner about the details of a contract, that's not going to sit well.
Especially a guy of that status.
Yeah.
You're talking like one of the largest deals in the history of the NFL.
One of the largest commissions.
And a massive commission for the agent. He wants to make sure he's got his nose in there. He needs to know what's going on. All right, the Jays are back in action. They're back home, Kansas City in town. You got Gosman on the mound. You got Ty France playing tonight. Dalton Varsho's been activated. He's going to be in center field tonight. I think Shane Bieber's up in town, right? You got the new guys around.
Love it.
A lot of positivity. Joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline, here's the GM of the Blue Jays, Ross Atkins. How you doing, Ross?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. Yeah, and you said yesterday you're fired up. So you're fired up because you checked off every box you were hoping to check off, or what?
Yeah, well, I mean, mostly because of how the team has played, and they put us into a position where we're acquiring at the deadline. We're able to accomplish some goals, and very much so looking forward to the months ahead.
So I'm curious, when you have a checklist, so to speak. I don't even know if that's actually what you use. Like, do you have a whiteboard where you're like, ideally, we got a starter, a couple of bullpen arms, maybe some catching depth, maybe a right-handed bat? And how much of it is based on, what the prices are out there? In other words, would you have been comfortable adding more if you felt the prices were appropriate, or did you actually get right to your limit in terms of how much turnover you wanted to actually see with your team?
Yeah, I mean, depends on how you define more. There was other ways to, think about on the margins. Are there small things that we can continue to do that we were certainly considering until the last second? And there was other deals that we were in where prices were different and some were steeper. So we were in a position where we were able to accomplish our goals and fired up about that. And yes, but to your first question, the price matters. You're doing bad deals. That's going to sting at one point.
No doubt about it, Ross. And obviously the price matters, and the risk tolerance also matters when it comes to making a deal for a guy who's in the midst of a rehab assignment like Shane Bieber. I mean, take us through like the level of due diligence you had to do to be comfortable that trading for Shane Bieber would be the risk reward that you wanted it to be.
Yeah, it's a fair question, Dave, a good one. And, it starts with us having firsthand knowledge of the player, having a couple of our staff members that have worked with him in the past, and then all of our work that we've done to continue to learn about Shane and how he's improved as a professional and how he's gone through this rehab process. Obviously, there was the medical evaluation that was paramount for this decision. But I think the biggest piece that, gave us enough comfort, obviously, to make the decision was his last rehab outing. Just seeing how effective he was, the stuff was back to as effective as it's ever been. And in today's game, that's not just our eye telling us that and hitters' swings telling us that. We have that down to the data point, and that I know is not the sexiest thing to talk about, but we have very, very good information and telling us how effective he currently is.
So what is the best case scenario for Shane Bieber as a Blue Jay?
Well, that he's pitching in a World Series for us and starting, a game or two and effective throughout those. So it's important to have options. It's important to have, guys who have shown that they can handle that level of pressure before. And then we've just added another one of them to the mix for us. So, we're going to need to have some depth in different areas. We were able to acquire it in this particular one in high-end starting pitching, and obviously there's still a few steps for him to make, but it was a really good fit for us given the way we're currently constructed.
He has a player option next year. Where does the future of Shane Bieber and the Blue Jays, currently stand beyond this year?
Yeah, I mean, like if he came to us today and said, hey, I'm just going to pick that up, we're probably having a real discussion. It's just so exciting to think about him in this organization moving forward. So, we're open. We are obviously extremely interested, or we wouldn't have given up such a significant piece. But for now, we're just focused on the impact of this year.
When you look at Alan Roden as an interesting guy, you moved out at the deadline, Ross. Thinking back to the opening day, he was a big story out of spring training, and the promise that was within that young man. Now he's no longer with you. Take us through sort of, the ups and downs of that career and why you ended up, kind of parting ways.
Yeah, I mean, that one was a very difficult decision. He's going to be an effective major league player. I have very little doubt. He's going to help them in the short term and in the long term, and I'm going to be pulling for him. But that's the price to pay and the price to play. And to acquire someone that can impact us as much as Louis Varland today, we weren't going to get him without Alan Roden involved. That was 100% clear. And that, is just part of it, where you have to make difficult decisions.
And Varland and Dominguez are your two bullpen arms. We've spoken of Bieber, but let's talk about these two guys and what they bring to the table for you. How much do you believe you've improved your bullpen with the acquisition of these two guys?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. So to put two guys in that you feel you could pitch in virtually any inning, most importantly, that you would feel very good about them in the 7th, 8th, or 9th against left-handed or right-handed hitters, and especially against right-handed hitters. For both of those guys, they dominate them, but we're comfortable with those guys facing. Obviously, we just saw Sir Anthony do it in a very, very left-handed hitting team in Baltimore. So adding those guys to the group that we have already, and Brendan Little, and obviously Jeff Hoffman, Yariel Rodriguez. Hopefully we get Yimi Garcia back, and how effective some of our younger guys and Fisher and Fluharty have been. That's a really strong bullpen. So, and it's also has some versatility and some differences to it that allow us to attack different lineups in different ways.
We've talked, a lot about Jeff Hoffman on our show this year, and I think it's safe to say he's had some ups and downs. His stats, don't jump off the page. He's been hit pretty hard. He's given up a fair amount of home runs. How concerned are you with, his play, or his, the way he currently stands? And are you a believer that that'll clean itself up as we get down the stretch here?
Yes, obviously we are. We believe that he is going to be very effective down the stretch. And are we concerned? No. All day long, one of the best, I guess, clubhouse statements I've ever heard from a manager, at least in the baseball world. And in the baseball clubhouses, it's not a place for as much as it is in maybe football and hockey and maybe even the NBA, for just the rah-rah and fire guys up types of speeches. But one of the best statements I've ever heard was from Terry Francona, talking to his team about things that he never wanted to see. And one of them was, I never want to see you back down. And that's what we feel like we've established, is a lot of guys that aren't going to do that. We throw the ball over the plate. Early on, we did give up some home runs. We do think that number has already come down significantly, but we've got some guys coming after you, and the result of that sometimes is home runs, but the stuff is real on all of them, and Jeff's is as good as anyone's against right-handed and left-handed pitching. So we would never want him to back down, and we feel like he's the type of athlete and pitcher that can make adjustments, and we'll do.
Ross, Hayes and I were just talking about the sort of the unexpectedness of the performance of this team when it comes to sort of the depth of contributions you've had from guys that maybe some of us didn't see coming. I'm sure you certainly saw it much differently. But if I were to have said to you on opening day that you'd be leading the American League on August 1st, and leading off would be Nathan Lucas, and hitting second would be Joey Loperfido, what would you have said?
Not likely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's listen, we obviously have believed in this team. I think I've said that a few times.
Yep. Yes, you have.
On the record there.
Yes, you have.
But it takes depth, and it takes time for that depth to show. And then we had the opportunity to acquire some players last year, and the time for guys like Addison Barger to develop, and opportunity for guys like Loper Fido and now Nathan Lucas to show what they can do. So, we did feel very good about our 40-man roster coming into the year, but that was not a plan that we were going to have those two guys in the 1 and 2 hole, and it's going to work for now. They probably won't be there for the rest of the year, but maybe one of them will be. But I am fired up for the success that obviously the team and organization for this city, but I am fired up for the individuals as well. I'm really happy for them.
Yeah, it's Lucas has been really good. Lupe Fido's been very good recently. You got Barger hitting 5th, playing 3rd tonight. You got Ernie Clement playing 2nd, hitting 8th, I believe, in the lineup this evening. And I'm curious how, we always talk about projections, and got a pretty good feeling of how your veterans are going to handle August and September, chasing a pennant, chasing the American League East. How do you get a read on how Nathan Lucas or Addison Barger or Ernie Clement are going to possibly handle this? Like, the dome's packed every single night. The city's buzzing. These guys are, they're big-time celebrities now in Toronto because of how well they're playing and how everything is so positive at this point. How do you project, how a young guy could handle this? Because it's a very different spotlight.
Yeah, I agree. And I think having Varsho back in the mix, Jimenez relatively soon back in the mix, hopefully Anthony Santander back in the mix, complementing with Ty France, and just not having George and Alejandro Kirk, we've seen that hit. Mm-hmm. So missing Varsho, Jimenez, Santander, George Springer, and Alejandro Kirk is why we have the 1 and 2 hole you're talking about.
Right.
And those guys are all coming back is the plan. So that will take a lot of pressure off the names you mentioned. But we're not going to the World Series and winning it if they can't handle it. So we believe they will and believe they can.
Well, you might not be going to the World Series and winning it if you don't get past a certain evil empire from down in the Bronx, Ross. And, as much as people are excited and you're fired up and your fans are fired up about all the moves you made to improve the team, the folks down in New York City are fired up about the Yankees going maybe even bigger, you could argue, in terms of bolstering their bullpen and their defense on the left side. What did you make of the way the Yankees were so aggressive at the deadline?
Yeah, I think they had more glaring holes than we did. Those were clear opportunities to make significant adds for them, and ours was just much more clear in our bullpen. So I don't want to talk about their acquisitions or compare them necessarily, but Louis Varland and Sir Anthony Dominguez are high-impact late-inning relievers that can face anybody and get swing and miss and aren't going to back down, that we are very glad to have.
With Ross Atkins, and I think that description obviously fits Max Scherzer probably better than anyone we've seen in baseball the last 15 or 20 years. And Scherzer will be back on the mound tomorrow night. How much confidence do you have in his health? How confident can you ultimately be? And, I asked you earlier, what's the best-case scenario for Shane Bieber? I guess I'll apply that to Max Scherzer. What do you see over the next 2, maybe 3 months?
Yeah, it's similar answer, and I agree. That competitiveness and tenacity that you can see and feel through the television screen is as real as I've ever seen, and it does impact our clubhouse and others in a real way. And that was part of the plan and part of the acquisition that we were, hoping would have such an impact. So I think, my confidence in his return to form has just continued to elevate because of, one, the effectiveness, the life on his pitches, the swing and miss, punching out 10 guys. I don't care who you are or what the name is on the back of your jersey or who you're facing. That's a real good sign that he's getting that much swing and miss. And so I think as he gets back in, each start seemingly has just gotten better and better. So I extremely confident he is. And then I think secondarily, the way that he's talking about his confidence in himself and what he's thinking about and how he's talking about what's ahead gives us a great deal of confidence that he's going to be a big part of our success.
What's the level of confidence, Ross, that your big offseason acquisition on the offensive side of the ball, Anthony Santander, will actually be able to contribute, be healthy enough to contribute this season? And at what point does it become a matter of maybe moving on to hoping for a healthy next season?
Yeah, I mean, well, that will be just take a day at a time. We're right now just planning for him to impact us at some point, whether that's later this month or mid-September or just for the playoffs. All of that would be a positive because of his experiences and just the real threat to put the ball in the seats and have really good at bats. So we'll just take it, really kind of a week at a time. And right now we're just optimistic and hopeful that he will make an impact.
With Ross Atkins, GM of the Jays Royals tonight down at the Rogers Center. Bo Bichette's had a great season, and his numbers have been off the charts. He's hit cleanup again tonight. Obviously, ever since he moved from the leadoff role to the cleanup position, he's just been a rocket for you. And now that you're past the trade deadline, the contracts are coming, and that the off season is when a lot of business takes place. And I'm curious. You can give us an update on where things stand, between the team, Bichette, and his future as a Blue Jay.
Do you want me to give you all the dialogue? Or
yes,
just
everything you got, everything you have, verbatim, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something we can ever really. I know it's so disappointing for fans. I wish I could. It just decreases the likelihood of getting something done and him being here for some time. The desire's there. He loves it. He loves the momentum of the organization. And man, I've talked about this with a lot of my friends. Just watching him get celebrated right now at the level that he is so fulfilling for me. And right now, we're all focused on how are we going to win today, and what is best for this team and organization. And so unearthing that would be. Me talking about that would be somewhat of a distraction.
So you're not going to go Jerry Jones on us today, Ross?
No, I'm not going to go to the Rick Bushwood level.
Yes, right.
There you go.
We appreciate that. Although I would love you to do that at some point.
Who came up with that? The Rick Bushwood level of concern. That is so good.
Yeah, it's a good one. I don't. I mean, the audio. JP, you can drop it if you want. I mean, we
6 Busch Light, 6 Bud Light, and I love them, tall boys.
That's our boy. He lives in Hamilton. He's actually he's probably a massive Blue Jay fan, Ross. He's probably watching right now and wondering what's going to happen with Bichette in the future. And now he's like, why are you guys talking about me as opposed to Bo? But yeah, listen, Bo's been, he's been great. And obviously we're always going to discuss, your superstar players. And Vladdy, he's got his contract done. He's got his money. He's been very healthy and he's performing. And how much more do you think is there for Vladdy in terms of performance and stats in particular? And how much is needed for this team to ultimately reach its potential?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think he's doing it. Mm-hmm. I think if he just keeps doing what he's doing, then, I think there's probably some focus on the home runs, and those will come. Yeah. It's such a talk about cliche, but you can't try to hit him, and he doesn't need to. He is one of the best hitters in the game as it stands right now. And if he just continues to be himself, he gets pitched around a little bit. He's taking his walks. The quality of his contact is elite. And he is a massive, massive threat in the middle of our lineup. As long as he continues to do that, we'll be fine.
Yeah, and he loves to play ball, man. We've talked about it, like Dave and I, Ross, you've been on the show a lot over the years, and I've always admired that. I mean, you would expect it. You're supposed to want to perform and play, but you got to drag him off the field, and I would think that's contagious. He's always on the top step. He seems to be in on every single pitch. There's a lot of value in that.
It is. It's like the what comes first, the confidence of the success is the conversation that no one will ever figure out and no one will ever have the answer to. But that playing with joy comes from, in my opinion, not just loving the game, but the game not being so stressful. And how do you create that? I'm not sure, but Vladdy definitely has it, and it is a massive impact on us.
We'll get you out of here with an update on George and Alejandro Kirk. So they're both currently on the IL. You put George on the retroactive 7-day concussion IL. Everything all good with those two? Do you believe by hopefully the end of the weekend you got better answers? If not, by next week they're both playing. Where do things stand on their status, Kirk and Springer?
Yeah, I'm so grateful for that protocol because of just the risk around it, that it's taking it out of the players' hands. And we are going to be safe there, but we are extremely optimistic. Alejandro's feeling great. George is feeling, maybe just a touch behind, but 100% in his words. So, but because they demonstrated some level of concerning symptoms, we're always going to err on the side of making sure that the human being is first. So, but we're extremely encouraged by how they're feeling today. And we'll see them soon is what today's information is telling us.
Awesome.
Back on the playing field.
Perfect. And then Bieber's on the mound on Sunday. Is that the plan down in Buffalo?
Yeah.
Is that the hope?
Yeah, that is the plan. He's probably already thrown a bullpen today, and we'll be excited to hear about that. So he's really good to have him in our clubhouse.
Is that a car service move? We were discussing that earlier. He's not staying in Buffalo. Is it straight down the QEW and right back, or what happens on Sunday?
Yeah, he'll hang out with us.
Yeah, that's the veteran move. Absolutely. All right, Jays Royals tonight. Good luck this weekend, and we always appreciate you finding time for us. Thank you, Ross.
All right, Brian and Dave. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. There he is, Ross Atkins, GM of the Jays. Yeah, he'll hang out with us. I like that. Listen, if you're 30, you've won a Cy Young, you've been in the league for a long time, you're going down, you're going to pitch, you're going to be very cordial. Sure, you'd be a great guy. How are you? Tip the staff, see everybody. A lot of people down in Buffalo love that he's coming down. You get to see him pitch, but he'll finish off, do some media, jump in the shower, jump in his car, and he'll be back in Toronto about 90 minutes post-game. He may not even wait for the rest of the game.
No, he'll be,
like 5 innings, and it'll be, hey, see you later, everybody.
He'll be squealing out of the parking lot mid-game. There's no doubt about that.
I love those plays.
Yeah, but you know what, though? Like, the guy he's been playing in Cleveland for a long time. Like, Buffalo is probably a step up.
That's a really good question. Like, as someone I'm not that familiar with Cleveland. Like, I know the reputation of Cleveland.
Been there many times.
And I've heard through the grapevine it's not necessarily a bucket list item.
It's a nice,
for the average person.
Nice city. The ballpark's nice, a little older now, and hasn't been red-oed like the Dome. The downtown's okay. There's some pretty cool spots. But you know what? If you want to just talk about sort of going to a place and having good food, like Buffalo's hard to beat, like in terms of, chicken wings. If you're a chicken wing guy,
cannot beat it, man.
Cannot be beat. Beef on weck. I mean, that is some
They run a pizza
stuff
down there, too, that can be very elite.
Great pizza.
Very elite.
In my estimation.
Apps.
In my estimation, Buffalo's a much better food town than Cleveland.
Buffalo it's one of the great food towns ever because they have the wings.
Yeah.
Like when you own a delicacy like that, and that's precisely what it is.
And
you pop your chest out, man.
And the thing about Buffalo wings, Hayes, you can go all over the world and get Buffalo wings.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. They're not Buffalo wings.
Well, and you talk about, we were talking earlier about certain teams looking down on others. You go into Buffalo and you request something that is abnormal based on how they operate with their wing system, they will look down on you quickly. Like I was down there a few years ago and I requested some dippings. It was like a dill sauce. And the woman looked at me and said, "You're in Buffalo." Like she literally looked at me and said, "No, we don't have that. This is Buffalo."
Cheese.
It was blue cheese. That was
all
it.
There is.
That's all it was.
All you
I was like, "Do you have any dills?" She's like, "You're
no
in
ranch.
This is Buffalo.
No dill.
Yeah.
Blue cheese.
Blue cheese.
Period.
And that's it.
End of story.
And I felt like such an idiot, but I'm like, I thought that was a reasonable request. My bad.
No, not in Buffalo.
No.
They're purists.
They're purists. And they will look down on you, and they will make you feel scummy and feel basically disgust.
They invented the dish.
Yeah, they did. They own it, man. It's their dish. So there you go. Shane Bieber up here in Toronto. I think a tip of the cap tonight could be in order. We'll see. Ed Werner coming up on Micah Parsons and what happens with the Cowboys moving forward. More on the Jays, more on baseball as we move past the trade deadline. And Dear Hazy B a little bit later this afternoon. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. Thanks again to Ross Atkins, Jays Royals tonight. And we'll catch up with Trevor May a little bit later this afternoon. We'll get to our best bets. I hit the over last night. I felt good about that.
I noticed that.
I hammered the over in the Hall of Fame game. Felt very good about that. Good start to the season.
Trey Lance came through for you.
Yeah, he
2
sure
TDs.
did. Love it. Love it.
Good.
Chargers look good. The Lions, big step back.
Big step back. Is Trey Lance still a bust? I don't know.
That is a great question.
Pretty good.
That is a great question. All right. Cowboys Insider for WFAA. We've had him on the station a million times. He's on with the morning guys all the time. It's great of him to take some time to join us this afternoon. Here's Ed Werder. How you doing, Ed?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you?
We're doing well. So Micah Parsons, are you buying this that now he wants out of Dallas with this trade demand request, whatever it is, posted online?
I think he's demonstrating his frustration. I think he's mostly posturing, and he's sending the message to Jerry Jones that this is going to be a different negotiation than that he had recently with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, in which he was never subjected to any public ridicule by those players as their deals were being negotiated. You know, Micah Parsons has his own podcast. He's quite accomplished. He has a lot of opinions. He interacts well with the media, and so he's going to give his point of view. And I just think it's frustrating to Cowboys fans and probably even Cowboys players, because we've seen them now in mass align with him publicly on social media, that the Cowboys have mismanaged this negotiation with Micah Parsons to the point that he's transitioned from being a player who stood in the locker room in December, and I was there, you know, saying he didn't need to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. He didn't need to make $40 million a year. He wanted good play. He wanted to sign early. He wanted good players kept around him, to the point where he's posting today that his frustration has him informing the Cowboys that he no longer wants to play here. He prefers to spend his career elsewhere.
So, Ed, you've been covering the Cowboys and Jerry Jones an awfully long time. I mean, the reporting that's come out from Diana Rossini is that one of the points of contention in this is that Jerry Jones was essentially negotiating face-to-face with Micah Parsons instead of Micah Parsons' agent, and there seems to be a misunderstanding on that front about the value of that negotiation from Jerry's perspective and, of course, I'm sure Micah Parsons' agent's perspective. And what do you make of that whole scenario of Jerry going face-to-face with a player?
It's something that Jerry Jones has frequently done with his best players as the owner and general manager of the Dallas Cowboys, one of the few people in the entire NFL who has those dual positions. Jerry feels like it's valuable to the organization to have the advantage of the general manager being able to meet face-to-face with the player, negotiate with the player. They don't need the agent. Jerry's not naive enough after 30 years of this to think that David Mulugheta, one of the most prominent agents in the entire NFL. I mean, he got the record guaranteed contract for Deshaun Watson when Deshaun Watson had no real leverage. He's made several players, including Jalen Ramsey, the highest paid players at their positions this offseason. There's no way the Cowboys were going to negotiate a deal like this without David Mulugheta and the NFLPA being at all involved. And Jerry can't be naive enough to think that that was ever going to happen. And yet it does seem, because he said after the opening press conference that he felt he had a deal negotiated with Micah on all of the key points. And Micah said in his statement today that their discussion in March was about leadership and how Micah was going to be expected to provide that if he was paid as one of the highest paid players in all of football. And that's a reasonable expectation. But then he says, you know, he talked about terms that he'd be seeking and so forth, and that Jerry then took that to mean that was the deal, and they had a deal, and the agent didn't need to be involved, and therefore Jerry and Stephen Jones have so far never contacted David Mulugheta in this negotiation, which is apparently true. Stephen said as much last week, but that's just preposterous for the Cowboys to think that they can avoid having the agent directly involved in a deal of any magnitude, much less this one.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where, like, Jerry Jones is a showman, all that. He owns the team, I guess. You know, he can do whatever he wants. But, like, at what point does it like stretch into, embarrassment? Like where it's like, how does this possibly look good or feel good? How do the other players look at this? Like, is the perception that Jones is trying to take advantage of Parsons? And if so, how's that possibly going to be a positive for the Cowboys moving forward?
Well, we've heard, Dak Prescott, who's badly beaten the Cowboys in all of his contract negotiations. Mm-hmm. And we've heard from CeeDee Lamb, who became the second highest paid wide receiver in football about this time last year. Both talk about how detrimental this is to playing your best at the beginning of the season. And we've seen, like I said, the players aligning with Micah Parsons. And, Jerry wanted him to show leadership, and that's what he's doing right now. I don't think Jerry intended for it to be demonstrated in this particular way and to his detriment. But, you got a first-year head coach in Brian Schottenheimer, a first-time head coach, who is doing two jobs this season. He's calling the offensive plays for the first time for Dak Prescott. He's a head coach for the first time in the NFL. He's trying to create a culture, trying to demonstrate leadership. And Jerry is, creating all of this distraction. Micah Parsons is not practicing. Micah Parsons should be taking reps in this new defense. They have their third defensive coordinator in 3 years. They got a bunch of new, edge players and defensive tackles that he needs to integrate with and coordinate with if they're going to be at their best in 34 days against the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champions who play in your division. And he's not on the field, and he's not taking reps and helping those young offensive linemen get better. It's just not the way you need to go about things when it's clear, his market value's been clearly established here. There's really not a question. There have been, recent deals done with pass rushers, including, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, T.J. Watt. It's all right there. They know what they're going to have to pay him. They know he's going to become the highest paid non-quarterback in football. So it's just a matter of when. And I will say one thing Jerry likes to do is Jerry likes to create these sorts of situations where he can easily become the center of media attention. Mm-hmm. And that's what he's done. He's now a central figure in the Cowboys getting ready for the start of the season because it's up to him when they're going to do this deal with Micah Parsons.
So you've seen so many of these things play out, Ed. I mean, how does this end in your sort of, if you're prognosticating, does Parsons have to miss games in the regular season before Jerry bends the knee and realizes, I better pay him? Or can this blow over before that and everybody live happily ever after?
Well, the only time I can recall a player in a contract holdout or negotiation reaching the point where they were willing to miss games was when the Cowboys were the defending Super Bowl champions in 1993, and Emmitt Smith missed 2 games to start the season. And the Cowboys couldn't score. They lost both games. Jerry surrendered and gave in to Emmitt, signed him, and then the Cowboys became the first team in NFL history to start 0-2 and win the Super Bowl. In this case, we heard Micah Parsons say early in camp that he couldn't envision himself holding out and missing practices because he loves the game too much. And as much as he might want to walk out of camp right now, it would cost him $50,000 a day to do that. And so he doesn't have that recourse. It's not a viable alternative for him. But if you can't engage in missing practices and missing camp, how can you miss game checks and miss regular season games?
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a practical conclusion for either side, really. Jerry's experience in that was bad, and Micah Parsons, to me, loves the game and wants to play and wants those paychecks badly enough that he'll be there week 1 against the Eagles.
With Ed Werder, Cowboys Insider, and you referenced the other benchmarks that have already been established, like Garrett getting paid, T.J. Watt getting paid. Do you believe Parsons will eventually get more than that? Do you think he will, in fact, demand it and Jerry Jones will, in fact, give it to him?
I think Jerry has now given Micah Parsons and David Mulugheta, that powerful agent I mentioned early in our conversation, every reason to get every dollar that they can get out of the Cowboys organization, the Cowboys front office. I mean, I can't remember, we never saw CeeDee Lamb or Dak Prescott, even Ezekiel Elliott when he didn't report to camp. we never saw those guys demand a trade or request a trade, as we've seen with Parsons, who, again, I think he's posturing, he's playing the game that Jerry's forced him to play. And we've seen these deals go into the first week of the regular season. I mean, remember, they signed Dak Prescott on game day of week 1 last year. I've joked that if Jerry had waited any longer, he would have had to have Mike McCarthy call a timeout on their opening possession, have Dak come to the sideline and sign his contract and go back out and resume his responsibilities as the quarterback. And Ezekiel Elliott didn't sign until 72 hours before they opened against the Giants 4 years ago. So it could take a while, but I just think that ultimately they need Micah Parsons too much. Jerry's invested in the gamble he's taken with a first-time head coach in Brian Schottenheimer too much to jeopardize the season early on because he didn't get a player signed who was willing to sign a below-market value contract at one point.
Ed, when you're hanging around this team long enough, and you've been around this team longer than anybody, is there speculation of what Jerry's end game is? He's an 82-year-old man who's built the biggest and most valuable empire in pro sports on this side of the Atlantic, maybe in the world. How long is he going to keep doing this?
Until he's dead.
You think so?
Yeah, only God's going to take this job away from Jerry Jones. And, he said as much that when he bought this franchise, he bought it not as an investment. He bought it as an occupation. He told us that at the end of last season after he's been doing this for, since 1989. And he wants to be the general manager. He thinks he deserves to be the general manager based on performance, even though can't imagine there's another team in the entire NFL that would even interview him to be a general manager based on the fact that they've gone longer than any team in the NFC to reach a Super Bowl or a conference championship game. This is 30 years. And, though everybody knows that it was Jimmy Johnson who built those teams that won Super Bowls 3 times in 4 years early in Jerry Jones's ownership tenure. And Jerry's been trying to prove that it was him all along ever since, to his own detriment. So there's no question to me that Jerry's never going to give this job up willingly.
So we'll get you out of here with, a prediction or projection on the season. Let's say Parsons signs, like you said, he's playing week 1 against the Eagles. Do you think the Cowboys are a playoff team this year?
Well, I think there are a lot. I don't know if they can run the ball, but I know if you want to run the ball, Mike McCarthy's not your guy, and Brian Schottenheimer probably is more that type of guy. Do they have the offensive line and the backs to do that? I'm really not sure. They were a really bad team on defense last year. They're coming off a 7-win season. They're starting the year 3rd in their division. Washington and Philadelphia went to the NFC Championship game last year. The Cowboys have 4 total games against those teams, and they have to play the NFC North and the AFC West, the 2 divisions that each advanced 3 teams to the playoffs last year. So schedule-wise, they're definitely up against it. But if Dak Prescott's healthy, I think 5 of the 6 years that Dak Prescott started more than half the games and been healthy at the end of the season, they've made the playoffs. So I think if Dak Prescott stays healthy, the Cowboys have a chance to make the playoffs.
All right. We'll leave it there. Really appreciate you doing this, Ed. We'll do it again soon. Thank you.
Sounds great. Anytime. Good to talk to you guys. Thank you.
There he is. Ed Werder of WFAA, Cowboys Insider down in Dallas. There is always turnover in that division. Whoever wins it one year, they do not win it the next.
Yeah.
Yet, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and they clearly, on paper, are the best team.
But the Commanders got problems of their own. They got to hold into their own.
Terry McLaurin wants out. And Terry McLaurin said, I guess I got to demand a trade. He's not going anywhere either.
No,
and they
probably
need
not.
him. They need him. Like, they need some weapons. I think he understands he's in a position of leverage to get paid at some point. You got a young quarterback who had the season he had last year. You got to put Daniels in a position to succeed this year. And McLaurin's their clear-cut number 1 wideout.
Oh, yeah.
But I think the Giants will be better this year. I'll believe it when I see it that they actually do anything.
I doubt they'll be better. Better than
can they get to 6
wins?
wins?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is it 6 wins or 7 wins? Is that defense better? Does Dable save his job? I don't know. But the Cowboys are a wild card there for sure.
Yes.
And he's right about Prescott. If he's healthy, he can play.
Yeah, he can get you a lot of wins.
Yeah, he's not going to win an MVP. I don't believe. I don't think he'll be ever in contention for that. But can he creep into top 10 status when he's playing at his best? Yes, he can.
For sure.
So that gives you an opportunity to win in modern football. Trevor May on the Jays, Royals tonight. What else he took from the trade deadline? Best bet still to come later this afternoon as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Mail It In Friday brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy $15 lunch at BP where you get an entree, a side, and a drink, and you'll get it all in 20 minutes or less. A fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. Long-time MLB pitcher Trevor May coming up. Host of the Mayday podcast in about 10 minutes. Best bet still to come as well. Argos in action. Need one tonight.
Oh.
In Winnipeg. Back-to-back against the Blue Bombers. I like this.
Yeah, well, Blue Bombers are kind of wobbling. So
Yeah, they are. 500 club. Like, there's no guarantees they make the playoffs. They have just run the show in the West for a long, long time.
Wow.
Go to the Grey Cup basically every single year.
Ryan did what he's been calling for the Argos to create chaos.
Yes.
So this is the moment, man.
They did it last week
Now or
against
never.
this very team. This would be chaotic on the road. Going to Winnipeg, beating them back-to-back weeks, launches you into very different role, very different position. Ottawa won last night. It's not about winning the East. That's not going to happen for the Argos.
No.
But you just want to make the playoffs. Make the playoffs.
That's all you got to do.
What you got to do.
And
But
hopefully
August
you get
1st.
Chad Kelly back. And
Yeah, I don't know where to stand on that.
Doesn't sound like
he's the Anthony Santander of the Argos.
yeah.
I don't know if we're going to see either one of them in September. That's actually a good poll question. Which
is
of
more
these
likely?
two is more likely to be playing in September? Maybe there should be a third option, neither guy, because I'm not convinced either one does. All right, Trevor May. We'll revisit our chat with Ross Atkins into the 6 p.m. hour as well. Jays, Royals tonight. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
is the preview of the things you're gonna get. Yeah.
It's Mail It In Friday.
Yeah, hi, it's Bill Lumberg again. Yeah, it isn't a half day or anything like that.
This is Overdrive.
It's not that I'm lazy. It's that I just don't care.
With Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Final hour for the week. Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Brian Hayes, Dave Feschuk of the Toronto Star. Jays Royals tonight. Trevor May coming up in a few moments. Lineups out. We've got Varsho back playing center field tonight. You got Ty France making his debut. He's going to DH tonight. Kirk still hurt. Springer still hurt. Santander still hurt. Like those are three guys that would be regulars, would be playing tonight. Not available to you. But Vladdy's playing, Bichette's playing, Barger's hitting fifth. You know, and it's interesting. We were talking about this with Ross Atkins, and we'll revisit our chat with Ross a little bit later on. You know, like kind of adjusting your viewpoint. You asked him, like, if I had told you that Nathan Lucas would be leading off, Joey Luperfito would be hitting second, and Clement playing second base. You know, because Jimenez is another guy who's going to play.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't hit as well as Ernie Clement, but he defends better than Ernie Clement. Defensively, he's the best second baseman in the game, which is an interesting transition here with Varsho coming back, arguably the best defensive center fielder. Jimenez eventually back, arguably the best defensive second baseman. What does that do for your Varlins and your Dominguez types and your Hoffman types and Bieber when he makes his return? It's going to make those guys pretty happy.
Run prevention, baby.
Run prevention. But how does it affect the offense that has been so potent for a month and a half because Clement's played well and Barger's been great and Lucas has had some really clutch home runs and big hits, and that's going to be the balancing act for John Schneider.
It's going to be a tough balancing act. A lot of choices.
Yeah.
Good problem to have, but also a difficult one.
Yeah, exactly. Not everyone can play every day, and obviously it's situational, who's on the mound and who you're facing and historical stats and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, and you throw in a guy like Ty France, who's a veteran guy who's going to be on the 26-man roster. Mm-hmm. He's going to be available to you daily. What do you do? When Springer returns, Kirk returns. Now you got Varsho here. Santander's a different story. We've talked about it. Who knows when he's going to return? It's not going to be in August. So they don't have to worry about that for at least another 30, 35, 40 days. But
yeah, Ross said at first he said day to day, and then he said week to week.
Yeah, I don't.
Sounds like maybe month to month.
Who knows if Santander is going to play? But Jimenez, Ross did say, should be returning relatively soon. So if Jimenez is going to play, he's going to hit 8th or 9th in your every single day. He's never going to be a guy that you're going to put at the top of your lineup. But
it's nice to have him.
It's nice to have him.
Nice to have him.
Yeah, and he's committed, and they're paying him a lot of money, so he's going to play. You know, it's just I am curious to see what it looks like in 2 weeks if all these guys are back, Santander notwithstanding. Where does Lucas fit in? Where does Luperfito fit in? Where does Ernie Clement fit in?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe they don't.
Maybe they don't.
They certainly weren't, as Ross said. You know, you would have never envisioned a lineup on August 1st.
Yeah.
Leading off with Lucas, going to Luperfito at number 2.
And Barger hitting 5th.
Yeah.
Like that's what's surrounding Vladdy and Bichette tonight. So
wild stuff, man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And it's worked for them, and they've been fine. And that is the question. I mean, maybe these reinforcements show up at the right time. I guess that's what I'm getting to, is if at some point there's stumbling blocks or these guys, you know, snap out of it and realize, like you said earlier, man, I'm Joey Luperfito and I'm hitting second on August 1st and we're 3.5 games up in the AL East. What the hell's going on here? If a reality check kicks in, that's when Jimenez arrives. Veteran, stable,
right,
prepared for the scenario. Varsho probably arriving at a perfect time. Springer will return. Kirk's going to return. Ty France is a vet that's been around a long time. Played in playoff games.
Been an all-star.
Yes. So the balancing of youth with veteran presence, I think, is important. And if and when the youth decides, if they do at all, that maybe they're hitting a bit of a skid, that's when you got to lean on the other guys.
100%.
And that's why you have options. That's why you have depth.
And that's the beauty of this season so far, is that you've gotten such a bonus out of so many of these guys that you never expected to be key contributors, that you're right. It's almost as though, you're getting a second wave back with Varsho coming back, and with, Santander may or may not, but Jimenez coming back. And those are nice things to kind of be hitting you at a moment where let's face it, you've had a little stumble here.
Yeah.
You went to Baltimore and it did not go well.
Mm-hmm.
Got to snap out of that.
Yep, for sure. No, I am. I think it's going to be a daily occurrence where there's debate over who's going to play where and what it's going to look like. Presuming health. Like if there's a right-handed pitcher on a mound, Barger's playing, but where's he going to play?
Right.
Like now that Varsho's back, if he's healthy and playing, he's playing center field every single day.
Worse.
So that's happening. The DH role, you can play Springer there, but if not, George is going to play right field.
No doubt.
More than likely.
No doubt.
So where is Barger going to play? I don't
Where does he fit in?
think they're overly comfortable with him playing left field. Now, he can't DH. But I don't think they're overly comfortable with him playing third base, especially down the stretch.
Is where he is tonight.
Exactly. So, you got to find a role for him, but it's a matter of where it's going to fit. Ernie Clement, the same thing. Like when Jimenez returns, he's playing second base.
Of course.
So where's Ernie going?
Great question.
I don't know. Like I can guarantee you this: if they're healthy, Kirk's catching, Vladdy's playing first, Jimenez playing second, Bichette's playing short, Varsho's playing center field. That we can guarantee.
Yeah.
And then you got to fill out what else they're going to do. Springer likely playing right field. So figure it out from there. Maybe Barger turns into a DH down the stretch. Maybe he goes back and forth with France. France hits lefties, Barger hits righties.
The bat stays hot.
Yeah.
He might make the case that you can't take him out.
Yeah. But then Lucas Luperfido, are they simply going to be relegated to, more or less bench duties, pinch hits, giving guys days off?
Then it's hard to stay hot. Then
it becomes almost impossible to expect that out of a guy. If they're not going to get everyday hacks. So we'll see. We'll see what comes of it. But yeah, I'm curious to see what the reaction is going to be tonight. If they go to the bullpen and one of the new guys comes out, because Atkins effectively said that. You asked him about the Yankees, and he kind of took a shot at the Yankees and said they had much more glaring holes. Way more glaring. I'm putting words in his mouth, but they had more glaring holes.
Glaring weaknesses or glaring
weaknesses than what we had.
Yeah.
But he specifically referenced his bullpen.
Yeah.
He said we had to attack our bullpen, and they did that, bringing in two arms where there's been somewhat of a philosophical shift for them with their bullpen. I wish I asked Ross that, because they had been prone to bringing in guys that threw kind of funkier pitches and had to hit their spots. And, they had a number of guys that was like, why is this guy in the bullpen? He throws 91, 92, and he's always trying to hit you with off-speed pitches or throw changeups or whatever. He made it very clear, and he referenced Terry Francona, and one of Francona's, I guess, famous, build them up speeches in clubhouses of the past, that, like, be aggressive, go at guys, and don't ever apologize for being, having that type of mentality.
Never back down.
Never back down, I believe, was the term he used. And that's what these guys represent. Like Varland and Dominguez represent guys. They're going to throw 98, 99. If you can hit it, hit it.
Here it is.
And Hoffman, the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to throw heat, and if you can hit it, good for you, but I'm not going to stop. And that's somewhat of a philosophical change. Like, they haven't had that really in the past. It's been more of the Garcias who are still here, and guys like that who it's like, all right, what are they going to bring? What if they're not on? What if they don't hit their spots? They're going to get crushed.
You're right. And with Hoffman, like you asked about Hoffman and the fact that he's given up a lot of home runs and, quite a few loud outs that make you shiver a little bit if you're a Blue Jays fan. But Ross's point was, hey, that's going to come with going at people.
Yeah, we can accept
people.
If you're going to challenge.
Yeah.
If you're going to keep that mentality and keep that kind of aura, that I guess he's got, and I guess that can permeate through the rest of the bullpen. All right, here's former MLB himself. You can catch his podcast, the Mayday podcast, back on OverDrive. Here's Trevor May. How you doing, Trevor?
Hey, guys. How are we doing?
We're doing okay. Yeah, we're feeling pretty good up here. How are you feeling about the Blue Jays post-trade deadline?
Pretty good. I thought they had a couple of nice little pieces. I mean, that was quite the deadline. It's hard to keep track of everywhere and everyone that went everywhere.
I like it, man. We talked about it.
I was a fan, yeah.
We talked about it earlier that like baseball, it took them a long time to realize like you got to have a drop dead date. You can't do this like waiver wire in August and all that crap. Like they had to get with the times, like what the NHL does and Major League and NBA and NFL, and they've established that now. And this July 31st trade deadline, it was unbelievable yesterday. There was so much activity. It was great.
Yeah, never seen anything like that, especially the last couple of years, especially since the playoffs expanded. It's been kind of a foregone conclusion that there's going to be a few teams that are absolute buyers and a few teams that are absolute sellers, and then everyone else is kind of on the fence and doesn't really know how to make a decision, and that's what we've seen the last few years. But it feels like they've gotten their sea legs under them, and now everyone's ready to pull the trigger. So I'm not complaining. I had a great time.
Well, the big news up here in Toronto, obviously, Trevor, and the big excitement is around the Shane Bieber deal. Obviously, a risk-reward gamble for a former Cy Young winner who's coming off Tommy John and is still in the midst of his rehab process here. He's going to pitch a rehab assignment on Sunday in Buffalo is the latest news for Bieber. But, you know, you're a guy who's pitched in the majors. You've seen a lot of stuff. I mean, what's your level of kind of comfort with the Blue Jays taking a risk of that nature?
I like it. I think even in terms of, you know, risk level, it is one of the lower risk sides, at least on terms of financial and commitment. You know, he's on a 1-year deal. It's one of those things, of course you want it to work out, but like if it didn't, I don't think the world's ending either. We just, you know, we want to win and win now. And in that context, I think it's a great move because Shane Bieber's got a great track record. He has really never had a time where he was on a major league mound for any length of time and struggled ever. And I know there's Tommy John and he's coming off an injury and there's a certain level of rustiness that comes with that. But if Brandon Woodruff has shown us anything this year, some guys can just not be rusty and they can come out sharp. And by all accounts, what I've heard anecdotally from people who've seen some of his rehab starts, he's pretty sharp. And that's a good sign. I was with Hunter Pence yesterday covering the end, the deadline here, and Shane Bieber to Toronto was the number one trade that he loved, and I tend to agree. It's a top 3 for me. I think the potential, the ceiling, could be absolutely huge for the team, and it's already a staff full of veteran guys with experience. Like winning and the experience of winning is not in short supply in that group. So you can add this guy in there as well, and it just comes down to how healthy, how sharp are we all feeling. But if you check all those boxes for this team, it's going to be a tough team to beat, you know, in a series.
Well, Trevor, you're one of these pitchers during your career who underwent Tommy John and had to sit out a year. I mean, what was when you came back? You know, when you were at the point where Shane Bieber is now, where you're actually throwing live pitches, your velocity is coming back. Like, what is the next step? What's the hardest thing to go from rehab assignment to major league game?
I think it comes down to the speed of the game and just the level of adrenaline you get from the game, like truly mattering. And there is a little bit of a disconnect in the minor leagues because sometimes, especially in AAA, you can get the feeling that you're almost playing spring training games and you're just all trying to get ready to get to the big leagues, and the games don't feel like they matter as much. And that changes the moment you get to the major leagues, and sometimes it's a little bit of a shock to the system, and some guys take a little bit longer than others. Fortunately, he is a starting pitcher, so you can go out. The game usually starts off a little bit more. Let's see how this thing's going. Let's get in the groove here, and so starters can kick that rust off. And not be affected by adrenaline as much as, say, a reliever. Like for when I came back, I was going in and I expected to be in leverage from the first time I was out there, and that could be a little frustrating if you're not quite to the 100%, here it is, hit it type of mindset. So I think he's in a good position. That is not really how he pitches anyways. He is the guy who locates, who uses that four-seam ball in and out on the edges of the zone and then just hits you with breaking balls. And I think that there's no reason he can't dial that in the minor leagues and then just show up in the big leagues with all that stuff ready to go. He's in a better position than, say, I would be, for example.
With Trevor May, so knowing what we know as of today on August 1st, who would you have more faith in having an impact on September and hopefully October with the Blue Jays, Shane Bieber or Max Scherzer?
Oh, that's a dangerous question. No, because I know Max. I gotta make sure I don't get a text message. You know what? I'm gonna give it to Max because he has pitched big league games recently, and there's just a lot. There's a big question mark around when you haven't pitched in the big leagues for a year or so and how you're going to respond right away. I am pretty confident that that's not going to affect Shane as much as maybe some other people, but I also don't know, where the velocity. I don't really know where the stuff's at currently yet either. So, and we've seen some good stuff out of Max at times recently. Up to 95, sitting 95. The slider seems sharp. The things that Max needs to do to be successful, we're seeing on a fairly regular basis, and so I'm going to give him the edge. Also, he's just a very scary person.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. I think that's probably a wise play. Avoid, going against Max Scherzer. I don't blame you there. Go ahead, Dave.
Hey, no, I was going to ask you, Trevor. Obviously, people in Toronto are excited about the Blue Jays additions, and there's a lot to be said for them. People in New York who love that team in the Bronx, I think, were even more euphoric about the way Brian Cashman addressed the weaknesses of the Yankees. What did you make of the Yankees really loading up at the deadline, and how formidable does it make them in your eyes?
Well, they got on the reliever train a little bit. I'm thinking, actually, to be honest, both New York teams pretty much took everyone's relievers. This was the year of the reliever for sure. Now they both have 3 closers. So I think they did a good job of going and grabbing a lot of impact to really shore up the back end of the bullpen. But I also don't think that was their biggest need. I think a little more starting pitching maybe would have been a more help. So I think that they're in a good position if they can get a lead and have a lead in the 6th inning. I would bet on them having a good group of guys that can get that job done. But I think you got to get the lead, and the starting pitching has to get you there. So did they get better? Yes. But they got better mostly in one area. And, I think they still had some weaknesses in some other areas that weren't addressed as strongly as the bullpen. But you can't deny that, going and getting Camilo Duvall, going to grab 2 closers and some other guys who are having career years to go into your bullpen and really revamping it all at once is a positive for the team that gets to do it.
Yeah, and they boosted their defensive play as well. They can hit home runs. You presume Judge is going to be healthy, and if so, that changes a lot as well, knowing that Aaron Judge is going to be available to you. With Trevor May, now that we're post-trade deadline, like how much has your kind of power rankings reshuffled, if at all? Do you still have the Dodgers as the clear-cut best team in the league? Do you think it's the Brewers, the Cubs? Do you think the Jays are there, Yankees? Like, where do things stand today for you as you project the rest of the way compared to where things stood before the trade deadline?
I will say that the Dodgers are not the top of the board for me. They probably haven't been because of they're a little bit in the wait and see moment. We're going to see what they get back off the IL in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and that's going to be really telling because that's what their trade deadline is going to be, which I think makes sense because they have MVPs and Cy Young Award winners waiting to come back. So I would bank on that too if I were them. But I would say the Padres just got super scary. I thought grabbing Laureano and O'Hearn was just a huge deal, especially, and then grabbing Mason Miller and JP Sears to add some more depth into the rotation. That's a really well-rounded team. They were already really, really good in my opinion, but they're only 3 games back of the Dodgers. They are. I would not be feeling very comfortable if I were the blue team. I thought they did a really good job too. So actually, we talked about this today. I talked about this with some of the guys in my that work with me in my offices. We were with the matchups were right now. I believe it's one of the best wild card rounds, ever. With like the Yankees and the Red Sox would line up, the Mets and the Padres would line up. I believe there's another one that's great, and like it would be you guys, and it would be the Brewers, all kind of waiting to see what happens. So, and Philly would be taking on the other team that I'm
the
forgetting.
Mets, I think, isn't that? Who would they be playing right now?
Philly. Who's left? There's another team.
Mets, Phillies, Brewers, Cubs, Dodgers, maybe Padres. Those are kind of what we're looking at.
That would be. Yeah, that's how it would kind of shake out, and it would be these big matchups that we'd be looking for right out the gate. So I'm feeling much better about the teams that are in the wild card situations with what they did, at least in the National League, because I thought the Brewers could have done a little bit more, but they like their team. So it's interesting. It's like you can't fault the teams that didn't do a ton that are leading their divisions because they've done it all year with the guys they had and kind of unexpected. So why worry about it now? But then you also got to look at the teams that got way better. So things get shaken up really fast here, especially August is going to be interesting.
It's going to be fun. Yeah, we're in the stretch run now, post-trade deadline, post-All-Star break. He is former MLB pitcher himself. You can catch the podcast, the Mayday podcast. He's Trevor May. Great catching up with you, Trevor. Thank you for doing this.
Of course, guys. Thank you. Talk soon.
Chat soon. There he is, Trevor May. The National League sets up like you've got big-time battles like Mets, Phillies, Brewers, Cubs, Dodgers, Padres. And only 5 of those teams are gonna make, or I guess all 6 can possibly make it. You have 3 division winners and then 3 wild card teams.
Right.
But who's going to end up winning? The top 2 seeds in the National League. It's up for grabs.
Oh,
Could
it's
be
wide open.
any combination of really any of those teams still.
Wide open. I mean, they're separated. Those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams are separated by 4 wins.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Padres have 60 at the bottom, and Brewers and Cubs have 64 at the top. So it's just like there's.
Give me a great stretch run.
It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And the fact that the Dodgers have kind of been sleepwalking through the season. I mean,
well, and they've had a lot of injury problems. But if they start getting guys back into the lineup and then they snap out of it, they have the most potential to be just a juggernaut.
Right.
Clearly.
Like, remember us? Like, yeah, we're back.
Big time. And as you can see, FanDuel future odds, World Series, they're plus 240. Dodgers are plus 240.
The books don't want to give up on them.
They don't want to give up on them, and I'd say that's pretty wise.
We're not giving long odds on the Dodgers.
No, I wouldn't blame them. Mail It In Friday brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy $15 lunch at BP where you get an entree, a side, and a drink, and you'll get it all in 20 minutes or less. A fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. We'll sneak in Dear Hazy Beer 2 later in the hour. Best bet still to come. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. Best bets a little bit later in the hour. Sneaking a Deer Hazy beer, too, as well. Jays Royals tonight. Shane Bieber's down at the Dome, and he's going to do a bullpen session and then pitch for the Bisons on Sunday in Buffalo. I guess he's meeting with the media. Looks good in the Blue Jays uniform.
Yeah.
A lot of excitement. Said he feels good about where he's at. It's all good. You know, that's the big get. Farland will be active tonight. Ty France is going to be playing. He's DHing tonight. Dominguez will be in town, likely pitching, coming off an off day yesterday.
Oh, yeah. He'll pitch.
Right? So you got Gosman on the mound. Gosman's been pitching really well post All-Star break. Outstanding. Back-to-back starts been great. Royals in town. They don't hit great, but they pitch okay. Starters you're going to face is going to be a little bit difficult, but Jays are in a good spot, and they got to get cooking here after a little bit of a stumbling block.
Yeah.
Right? Losing 3 of 4 against Baltimore. He lost the last game in Detroit.
Getting blown out in Baltimore.
Yeah, they got, first couple of games, they got blown up. But KC for 3, then Colorado for 3, and then it gets cooking again. Dodgers, Cubs around the corner. But caught up with Ross Atkins, GM of the Jays, a little bit earlier this afternoon, and obviously he's happy with his work. But we began by asking him, you know, how comfortable he would have been possibly adding more at the trade deadline than he actually did.
Depends on how you define more. There was other ways to, think about on the margins. Are there small things that we can continue to do that we were certainly considering until the last second? And, there was other deals that we were in where, prices were different and some were steeper. So we were in a position where we were able to accomplish our goals and fired up about that. And yes, but to your first question, the price matters. You're doing bad deals. That's going to sting at one point.
No doubt about it, Ross. And obviously the price matters, and the risk tolerance also matters when it comes to making a deal for a guy who's in the midst of a rehab assignment like Shane Bieber. I mean, take us through the level of due diligence you had to do to be comfortable that trading for Shane Bieber would be the risk reward that you wanted it to be.
Yeah, it's a fair question, Dave, a good one. And, it starts with us having firsthand knowledge of the player, having a couple of our staff members that have worked with him in the past, and then all of our work that we've done to continue to learn about Shane and how he's improved as a professional and how he's gone through this rehab process. Obviously, there was the medical evaluation that was paramount for this decision. But I think the biggest piece that, gave us enough comfort, obviously, to make the decision was his last rehab outing. Just seeing how effective he was, the stuff was back to as effective as it's ever been. And in today's game, that's not just our eye telling us that and hitters' swings telling us that. We have that down to the data point, and that I know is not the sexiest thing to talk about, but we have very, very good information and telling us how effective he currently is.
So what is the best case scenario for Shane Bieber as a Blue Jay?
Well, that he's pitching in a World Series for us and starting, a game or two and effective throughout those. So it's important to have options. It's important to have, guys who have shown that they can handle that level of pressure before. And then we just added another one of them to the mix for us. So, we're going to need to have some depth in different areas. We were able to acquire it in this particular one in high-end starting pitching, and obviously there's still a few steps for him to make, but it was a really good fit for us given the way we're currently constructed.
He has a player option next year. Where does the future of Shane Bieber and the Blue Jays, currently stand beyond this year?
Yeah, I mean, if he came to us today and said, hey, I'm just going to pick that up, we're probably having a real discussion. It's just so exciting to think about him in this organization moving forward. So we're open. We are obviously extremely interested, or we wouldn't have given up such a significant piece. But for now, we're just focused on the impact of this year.
When you look at Alan Roden as an interesting guy, you moved out at the deadline, Ross. Thinking back to the opening day, he was a big story out of spring training and the promise that was within that young man. Now he's no longer with you. Take us through sort of, the ups and downs of that career and why you ended up, kind of parting ways.
Yeah, I mean, that one was a very difficult decision. He's going to be an effective major league player. I have very little doubt. He's going to help them in the short term and in the long term, and I'm going to be pulling for him. But that's the price to pay and the price to play. And to acquire someone that can impact us as much as Louis Varland today, we weren't going to get him without Alan Roden involved. That was 100% clear. And that, is just part of it where you have to make difficult decisions.
And Varland and Dominguez are your two bullpen arms. We've spoken of Bieber, but let's talk about these two guys and what they bring to the table for you. How much do you believe you've improved your bullpen with the acquisition of these two guys?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. So to put two guys in that you feel you could pitch in virtually any inning, and most importantly, that you would feel very good about them in the 7th, 8th, or 9th against left-handed or right-handed hitters, and especially against right-handed hitters for both of those guys. They dominate them, but we're comfortable with those guys facing. Obviously, we just saw Sir Anthony do it in a very, very left-handed hitting team in Baltimore. So adding those guys to the group that we have already, and Brendan Little, and obviously Jeff Hoffman, Yariel Rodriguez. Hopefully we get Yimi Garcia back, and how effective some of our younger guys and Fisher and Fluharty have been. That's a really strong bullpen. So, and it's also has some versatility and some differences to it that allow us to attack different lineups in different ways.
We've talked, a lot about Jeff Hoffman on our show this year, and I think it's safe to say he's had some ups and downs. His stats, don't jump off the page. He's been hit pretty hard. He's given up a fair amount of home runs. How concerned are you with, his play or his, the way he currently stands? And are you a believer that that'll clean itself up as we get down the stretch here?
Yes, obviously we are. We believe that he is going to be very effective down the stretch. And are we concerned? No. All day long, one of the best, I guess, clubhouse statements I've ever heard from a manager, at least in the baseball world. And in the baseball clubhouses, it's not a place for as much as it is in maybe football and hockey and maybe even the NBA for just the rah-rah and fire guys up types of speeches. But one of the best statements I've ever heard was from Terry Francona, talking to his team about things that he never wanted to see. And one of them was, I never want to see you back down. And that's what we feel like we've established, is a lot of guys that aren't going to do that. We throw the ball over the plate. Early on, we did give up some home runs. We do think that number has already come down significantly, but we've got some guys coming after you, and the result of that sometimes is home runs, but the stuff is real on all of them, and Jeff's is as good as anyone's against right-handed and left-handed pitching. So we would never want him to back down, and we feel like he's the type of athlete and pitcher that can make adjustments, and will do.
Ross, Hayes and I were just talking about the unexpectedness of the performance of this team when it comes to sort of the depth of contributions you've had from guys that maybe some of us didn't see coming. I'm sure you certainly saw it much differently. But if I were to have said to you on opening day that you'd be leading the American League on August 1st, and leading off would be Nathan Lucas, and hitting second would be Joey Loperfido, what would you have said?
Not likely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's listen, we obviously have believed in this team. I think I've said that a few times.
Yep. Yes, you have.
On the record there.
Yes, you have.
But it takes depth, and it takes time for that depth to show. And then we had the opportunity to acquire some players last year, and the time for guys like Addison Barger to develop, and opportunity for guys like Loperfido and now Nathan Lucas to show what they can do. So, we did feel very good about our 40-man roster coming into the year, but that was not a plan that we were going to have those two guys in the 1 and 2 hole, and it's going to work for now. They probably won't be there for the rest of the year, but maybe one of them will be. But I am fired up for the success that obviously the team and organization for this city, but I am fired up for the individuals as well. I'm really happy for them.
Yeah, it's Lucas has been really good. Lou Profito's been very good recently. You got Barger hitting 5th, playing 3rd tonight. You got Ernie Clement playing 2nd, hitting 8th, I believe, in the lineup this evening. And I'm curious how, we always talk about projections and got a pretty good feeling of how your veterans are going to handle August and September, chasing a pennant, chasing the American League East. How do you get a read on how Nathan Lucas or Addison Barger or Ernie Clement are going to possibly handle this? Like, the dome's packed every single night. The city's buzzing. These guys are, they're big-time celebrities now in Toronto because of how well they're playing and how everything is so positive at this point. How do you project, how a young guy could handle this? Because it's a very different spotlight.
Yeah, I agree. And I think having Varsho back in the mix, Jimenez relatively soon back in the mix, hopefully Anthony Santander back in the mix, complementing with Ty France and, just not having George and Alejandro Kirk. We've seen that hit. Mm-hmm. So missing Varsho, Jimenez, Santander, George Springer, and Alejandro Kirk is why we have the 1 and 2 hole you're talking about.
Right.
And those guys are all coming back is the plan. So that will take a lot of pressure off the names you mentioned. But we're not going to the World Series and winning it if they can't handle it. So we believe they will and believe they can.
Well, you might not be going to the World Series and winning it if you don't get past a certain evil empire from down in the Bronx, Ross. And, as much as people are excited and you're fired up and your fans are fired up about all the moves you made to improve the team, the folks down in New York City are fired up about the Yankees going maybe even bigger, you could argue, in terms of bolstering their bullpen and their defense on the left side. What did you make of the way the Yankees were so aggressive at the deadline?
Yeah, I think they had more glaring holes than we did. Those were clear opportunities to make significant adds for them, and ours was just much more clear in our bullpen. So I don't want to talk about their acquisitions or compare them necessarily, but Louis Varland and Sir Anthony Dominguez are high-impact late inning relievers that can face anybody and get swing and miss and aren't going to back down, that we are very glad to have.
With Ross Atkins, and I think that description obviously fits Max Scherzer probably better than anyone we've seen in baseball the last 15 or 20 years. And Scherzer will be back on the mound tomorrow night. How much confidence do you have in his health? How confident can you ultimately be? And, I asked you earlier, what's the best case scenario for Shane Bieber? I guess I'll apply that to Max Scherzer. What do you see over the next 2, maybe 3 months?
Yeah, it's a similar answer, and I agree. That competitiveness and tenacity that you can see and feel through the television screen is as real as I've ever seen, and it does impact our clubhouse and others in a real way. And that was part of the plan and part of the acquisition that we were, hoping would have such an impact. So I think, my confidence in his return to form has just continued to elevate because of, one, the effectiveness, the life on his pitches, the swing and miss, punching out 10 guys. I don't care who you are or what the name is on the back of your jersey or who you're facing. That's a real good sign that he's getting that much swing and miss. And so I think as he gets back in, each start seemingly has just gotten better and better. So I extremely confident he is. And then I think secondarily, the way that he's talking about his confidence in himself and what he's thinking about and how he's talking about what's ahead gives us a great deal of confidence that he's going to be a big part of our success.
What's the level of confidence, Ross, that your big offseason acquisition on the offensive side of the ball, Anthony Santander, will actually be able to contribute, be healthy enough to contribute this season? And at what point does it become a matter of maybe moving on to hoping for a healthy next season?
Yeah, that will be just take a day at a time. We're right now just planning for him to impact us at some point, whether that's later this month or mid-September or just for the playoffs. All of that would be a positive because of his experiences and just the real threat to put the ball in the seats and have really good at bats. So we'll just take it, really kind of a week at a time. And right now we're just optimistic and hopeful that he will make an impact.
With Ross Atkins, GM of the Jays Royals tonight down at the Rogers Center. Bo Bichette's had a great season, and his numbers have been off the charts. He's hit cleanup again tonight. Obviously, ever since he moved from the leadoff role to the cleanup position, he's just been a rocket for you. And now that you're past the trade deadline, the contracts are coming, and that the off season is when a lot of business takes place. And I'm curious. You can give us an update on where things stand, between the team, Bichette, and his future as a Blue Jay.
Do you want me to give you all the dialogue? Or
yes,
just
everything you got, everything you have, verbatim, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something we can ever really. I know it's so disappointing for fans. I wish I could. It just decreases the likelihood of getting something done and him being here for some time. The desire's there. He loves it. He loves the momentum of the organization. And man, I've talked about this with a lot of my friends. Just watching him get celebrated right now at the level that he is so fulfilling for me. And right now, we're all focused on how are we going to win today, and what is best for this team and organization. And so unearthing that would be. Me talking about that would be somewhat of a distraction.
So you're not going to go Jerry Jones on us today, Ross?
No, I'm not going to go to the Rick Bushwood level.
Yes, right.
There you go.
We appreciate that. Although I would love you to do that at some point.
Who came up with that? The Rick Bushwood level of concern. That is so good.
Yeah, it's a good one. I don't. I mean, the audio. JP, you can drop it if you want. I mean,
6 Busch Light, 6 Bud Light, and I love them, tall boys.
That's our boy. He lives in Hamilton. He's actually he's probably a massive Blue Jay fan, Ross. He's probably watching right now and wondering what's going to happen with Bichette in the future. And now he's like, why are you guys talking about me as opposed to Bo? But yeah, listen, Bo's been, he's been great. And obviously we're always going to discuss, your superstar players. And Vladdy, he's got his contract done. He's got his money. He's been very healthy and he's performing. And how much more do you think is there for Vladdy in terms of performance and stats in particular? And how much is needed for this team to ultimately reach its potential?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think he's doing it. Mm-hmm. I think if he just keeps doing what he's doing, then, I think there's probably some focus on the home runs, and those will come. Yeah. It's such a talk about cliche, but you can't try to hit him, and he doesn't need to. He is one of the best hitters in the game as it stands right now. And if he just continues to be himself, he gets pitched around a little bit. He's taking his walks. The quality of his contact is elite. And he is a massive, massive threat in the middle of our lineup. As long as he continues to do that, we'll be fine.
Yeah, and he loves to play ball, man. We've talked about it, like Dave and I, Ross. You've been on the show a lot over the years, and I've always admired that. I mean, you would expect it. You're supposed to want to perform and play, but you got to drag him off the field, and I would think that's contagious. He's always on the top step. He seems to be in on every single pitch. There's a lot of value in that.
It is. It's like the what comes first, the confidence of the success is the conversation that no one will ever figure out and no one will ever have the answer to. But that playing with joy comes from, in my opinion, not just loving the game, but the game not being so stressful. And how do you create that? I'm not sure, but Vladdy definitely has it, and it is a massive impact on us.
We'll get you out of here with an update on George and Alejandro Kirk. So they're both currently on the IL. You put George on the retroactive 7-day concussion IL. Everything all good with those two? Do you believe by hopefully the end of the weekend you got better answers? If not, by next week they're both playing. Where do things stand on their status, Kirk and Springer?
Yeah, I'm so grateful for that protocol because of just the risk around it, that it's taking it out of the player's hands. And we are going to be safe there, but we are extremely optimistic Alejandro's feeling great. George is feeling, maybe just a touch behind, but 100% in his words. So, but because they demonstrated some level of concerning symptoms, we're always going to err on the side of making sure that the human being is first. So, but we're extremely encouraged by how they're feeling today. And we'll see them soon is what today's information is telling us.
Awesome.
Back on the playing field.
Perfect. And then Bieber's on the mound on Sunday. Is that the plan down in Buffalo?
Yeah.
Is that the hope?
Yeah, that is the plan. He's probably already thrown a bullpen today, and we'll be excited to hear about that. So he's really good to have him in our clubhouse.
Is that a car service move? We were discussing that earlier. He's not staying in Buffalo. Is it straight down the QEW and right back, or what happens on Sunday?
Yeah, he'll hang out with us.
Yeah, that's the veteran move. Absolutely. All right, Jays Royals tonight. Good luck this weekend, and we always appreciate you finding time for us. Thank you, Ross.
All right, Brian and Dave. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. There he is, Ross Atkins. Right into Dear Hazy B, brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy $15 lunch at BP, where you get an entree, a side, and a drink, and you'll get it all in 20 minutes or less. A fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. We've had people tweeting in saying, Dear Hazy B, do we road trip it down to Buffalo? Absolutely.
Yes, you do.
Saturday night. Stay Saturday night. Have yourself a great time. It's a pretty good party town in the summer. Wings, beers, whole nine. Bison's game Sunday. Come back with Bieber Sunday night.
Yes.
Unreal play.
Great play.
And it's a long weekend. Enjoy yourself. Right?
I might be doing that.
Yeah, I don't mind that play. Like you can get from downtown Toronto to Buffalo, and the Bison Stadium's really cool. It's cooked right into the city.
Really good.
Right? Like it's a really, really cool park. And you can be round trip that, man. You don't even have to stay the night.
Tickets are $20.
Yeah, go down Sunday morning, grab lunch down there at a great spot, grab wings, go to the game. You'll be home by like 7 o'clock.
It's great.
Unreal play.
Great ballpark food there, too.
Yeah, really cool park, man. Like really like steeped into the city, like in a skyline and everything. It's a really cool place. All right, best bets coming up. We'll wrap up what's been a busy afternoon. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm going to parlay 2 Blue Jay plays tonight. Gosman over 5.5 strikeouts. He has been dialed in his last 2 outings, and I think he racks up 7, 8 strikeouts I could see tonight. I'm on the over 5.5. And Ty France to record a hit. Feel-good story. Making his debut as a Jay. He's played well against Walker throughout his career. He was on the mound for the Royals tonight. That paying about plus 200. Best Bets powered by FanDuel. First inning means as much as the ninth when you bet baseball on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 19 plus, physically located in Ontario. All right, the new guys are activated. Varsho's activated tonight. I think we're going to see all of them tonight. Certainly throughout the weekend. You got Gosman, Scherzer, Bassett for the Jays. Big weekend.
And you got Summer tomorrow morning.
Summer McIntosh
against Ledecky.
Yes.
Going past 8 tomorrow.
4 for 4 tomorrow.
In Ledecky's race. This is the only race that Summer can probably lose, right?
Okay.
Never beat her in this one in a big meet. Didn't even make the final at the Olympics in this event.
Let's get after it tomorrow.
But Ledecky's the all-time great, and I love that Summer McIntosh is going after her.
Let's get after it tomorrow. Let's win this thing. Let's set a new world record. Let's be happy with a win, right?
Knock off a legend.
Knock off a legend. Summer McIntosh. The summer of summer again. We just had it. We're doing it again.
Might be a few more to come.
I think there likely will be. All right, Dave, good seeing you, man.
Great seeing you.
Have a great long weekend. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in. TV, radio, podcast, web, and, of course, up on YouTube Live. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy your weekends. We're back Monday at 4 p.m. We'll chat then.